And good evening. Today is January the 21st. Right now it is 7:30, and I'm calling to order this evening's meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. For the benefit of those who have not participated in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. The Secretary will read the legal notice of the meeting as published in local newspapers. The applicant will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of this property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. First, there'll be clarifying questions from the commissioners, then there'll be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. Next, we'll ask those who want to support the application to come forward. Second, we'll ask those who are opposing the application to come forward. As this is a public meeting and must be recorded, it is necessary for speakers to identify themselves by stating their name and address before addressing the commission. The applicant will then be free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing, the regular meeting during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Commission at 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. Seated tonight are the following members of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. We have Tom Cost, I'm Rich Meyer. We have Josh Hirschman, Walter Corbiere, Richard Wallace, George Underhill, Frank DeAndrea, Phil Johnson, Ray Bauer. Staff tonight, we have Kevin McGee sitting over there. We have Reggie Reed over there. We have a new secretary who's recording for us. It's Sally Berezowski. Got that. And recording for us tonight is Shannon Gale. We need to seat certain members. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So both alternate members are not voting tonight. Okay.
Still ask questions, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. Participate completely. Mr. Secretary?
And if any of us recuse.
Yes, if we have to step away.
Legal notice, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on July 21st, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, Monunketuck Room, 2nd floor, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, for the following purposes. Number 1, Ocean Co., LLC, Jeffrey Vernon, 485 Whitfield Street, map 29, lot 108, zone R3, coastal area management site plan, install concrete footers to existing support post, reinforce failing foundation with concrete posts for existing garage, section 273-91. Number 2, McClellan, Kevin, 405 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 5 and 8A, zone I1, site plan, special permit and coastal area management site plan, 15-unit residential townhouses, section 273-250 and section 273-91. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 30th day of December 2014, Richard Meyer, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Okay, can I get a motion to open the public hearing? First one up on my list, on both my lists right now, is Leon Joe, Planet 8 for the Little Store, 2802 Durham Road, map 109, lot 9, zone R8, special permit, add clothing donation box. This is continued from 11/19/14.
So
Anyone seconding it?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're up, sir.
Okay, one before the design review committee, we discussed the boxes, the barn for the little store, and the existing boxes that we have on Route 1. They were okay with it, with the design of them. They were going to vote on them. I'm going to be going in the February meeting after you guys approve this, or if you don't approve it. The plot plan of where the second application plan where we have the boxes. So they needed to see the site modification plans. I didn't have them at that meeting. I just had the pictures and everything else.
Okay, so you're asking us to approve or not approve something we don't know where it's going to go on the lot yet?
No, we do. We have them on our site modification plans right now.
So, sir, have you been before design review yet?
Correct. Yeah. It was actually supposed to have. Yeah, it was supposed to. I thought we were supposed to have a meeting in January, but I wasn't on the agenda for January. I spoke with Reggie and we scheduled it for February. So Reggie recommended to come here first and then,
So you're looking for us to continue this continue the decision until after you've been before design?
no, looking for approval and then pending the design review committee. They were ready to vote on it that day. They just needed the site application plans.
They had no problem with
The designs of the boxes were favorable, what we talked about.
What else?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we got the 3 sites this evening, the little store on Durham Road, and then later in the meeting, the Maritime Road and Deli Unlimited.
Joe, tell them what box is going to be at the little store.
Oh, yeah, the barn that we talked about last time, it's the
The shed.
the 6x4 wooden shed. You know, it looks like an actual shed, a little barn, right? Which was very fitting, and they agreed the same. The design review committee also did like the idea of having that in the North Guilford area. They felt that was fitting for the community because it's very scenic and very country.
And tell them where it's going to be placed.
It's going to be placed toward the back there. They have the parking lot area. Where it is now, it's on the side of the lot, and it's going to go toward the back side where they have their dumpster there, which is toward the middle. They'll go right to the right of it.
So just to the right of the dumpster.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Just want to let everybody, I think this letter in here is from you, and it's just requesting a fee waiver?
Yeah, but we discussed that last time. We've already paid the fee. We've already taken care of everything.
Great.
Ray, do you have other questions?
John, for me,
No?
you had a bad question. You had a
Yes, sir.
box of Blue 80, I think it's laying auto body, but it isn't there anymore.
Right, because that one we removed from the committee, remember? Last time we were here.
Was the fee ever paid on that piece?
No, because you guys decided not to accept it.
We waived.
So you removed
It's been
it?
gone. It's been gone shortly after that meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Within a few days it was gone. Yeah.
That application was withdrawn, George, because in order to meet the setback requirements, it was not going to be effective for Planet Aid.
Okay, because I talked to the fellow and he said it was full all the time. So I thought it was a successful spot for you.
But then, with the restrictions, the setback requirements, where would it have to go on that particular property? It was almost going to be hidden.
Well, yeah, I guess it was on the state property, actually. The state is,
This was on the state right of way?
which, yeah, right there, the block marker is right there. It says part of the state highway, 80. Anyways, you answered my question, sir, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, sir?
No, that's pretty much it on my end.
Any other questions? All right, can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
Just assume no one was here.
We have to tell Sally.
We're going to take that back for a second.
Okay.
There you go. Is it undo? Is there anyone who'd like to make a comment or participate in any way with this, ask questions or make a, no? I'm surprised. All right, can I get a motion to,
So moved.
A second.
all those in
Frank.
favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to open up, delete and replace 27347 site maintenance outside display merchandise? Second hearing, continued from 1/7/15.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, all good. Who is going? Stephen, come on down.
Last time I did not read the letter, my cover letter, so I will do that as
Oh,
well.
perfect. That's great.
Yeah. Mr. Richard Meyer, Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. Dear Rich, oh, by the way, the date is November 7th. The Economic Development Commission, EDC, is requesting the attached amendment to the zoning code chapter 273, Town of Guilford, section 273-47, on behalf of local businesses in town. The purpose of this amendment is to permit outside displays to stimulate local business. The EDC drafted the proposed amendment with guidance from from George Kroll and Reggie Reed, and we believe that it strikes a balance between business considerations, aesthetics, and enforceability. EDC requests a January 2015 effective date, if possible, and we also suggest that the commission may wish to consider this as a one-year trial period. That's up to you, but anyways, and then the proposed 273-47, site maintenance, outside display of merchandise. The purpose of this regulation is to permit the use of outside displays to stimulate local business. No commercial truck, trailer, van, or van body, or temporary shelter, storage container, or building shall be located on any lot for the purpose of an office or storage or processing of construction materials in conjunction with the construction project, or on the lot or the storage, sale, and/or distribution of supplies, merchandise, equipment, or refuse, except in an area of a type for a purpose and for a limited time period as approved by the commission. Outside displays of merchandise on sidewalks or other areas of the site immediately adjoining adjoining a retail outlet will be permitted, provided that the following conditions are met. A, the display does not obstruct safe pedestrian access on the sidewalk location. The greater of 1/2 of the sidewalk width, or 36 inches, shall be kept clear. B, the size shall be limited to one display item. C, the display must immediately abut the building structure. D, merchandise must be purchased inside the retail establishment only. E, all such displays will be removed to interior storage at the close of store operating hours on each day. F, no lighting shall be used that will be directly visible from streets, vehicular access lanes, or any motor vehicle traffic circulation areas. G, no equipment in motion shall be displayed, nor shall engine or motor-operated equipment be made operative while on display. H, only products customarily sold at the retail establishment may be displayed. I, the outside display shall be limited to the first full weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, of every month beginning in April through October, and additionally includes holiday weekends during the period. In addition, all weekends from the day after Thanksgiving through December 24th are allowed. J, town-approved sidewalk sale days are exempt from this regulation. What we're saying is you could display a single item, you can't sell it outside, you can only display it. And it's different than the sidewalk sale days where they are allowed to sell outside.
So let me fully understand, because I've been trying to, what I'm thinking is if a clothing retailer wants to display one item, is that shirts, plural? Like could it be 25 shirts as long as it's one shirt and not pants, not dresses, not hats, not... What is one item to you?
One item means literally one item.
One particular article of clothing, if it's clothing, or one particular plant, if it's a plant store, it's not 25 of one item.
Right. Now, I would say that there's a variation of that, or caveat to that. There is a merchant now which displays a mannequin that's dressed with certain clothing, so I would say I would count it as
Yeah,
one.
I would say. Phil, you gotta have a question.
Besides clothing, can you give me some other examples of businesses that would be displaying items outside, and just get a sense for what else there is?
Well, it could be books, but that you'd have to watch that very closely. It could be anything that some merchant is selling. It might be, for example, Mix might want to put some merchandise outside, which is more sort of household kind of, and some clothing, but, so those are two examples.
Would this apply to Shoreline Plaza?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not distinguishing that it's just around the green.
How much would it, how much do you guys believe it would financially benefit these stores, the retail stores?
I can't put a dollar amount on it, but since merchants have been asking for this, I have to say that they feel that it would be beneficial. And keep in mind, the idea is to attract them so they see something and then feel they want to come inside the store.
Weigh in on that being merchant in Shoreline Plaza. It's marketing also, and it's a way of creating excitement and
Right. So what would, in the instance of your store, what one item would you put outside?
depends upon what the season is.
Summer.
During summer, swim noodles.
Sorry.
Swim noodles for
So
pool
you put one
noodles.
noodle outside?
Yeah,
one box of noodles.
Probably one box would
box of
suffice.
noodles, right.
And, just to let them know something's going on.
Right.
Or summer floral or fake flowers.
So if you put a box of noodles outside and maybe one of your clerks, was saying, wow, this is working great, we're selling noodles hand over fist, and we put a box of float rings outside, how would the town enforce that? Like, our staff is not working on weekends, so what would be the avenue of enforcement there? Would one of us just happen to walk by, or regular citizen and say, they got noodles and rings out?
I would assume that enforcement would probably be a word of a complaint.
So absent of any complaints from citizens, they could...
That's what I would assume, the way I read it.
Right, so if people didn't call up screaming, it could be anything.
We also have a merchant in Shoreline Plaza that has
Two, sometimes.
has real live floral, power equipment outside. It's not Tom.
Power equipment?
He's got ride-on lawnmowers,
Yes.
chained together so nobody
Yes.
rides out with them.
Yes, of course. Because people will do that.
Would it benefit other stores that provide services as well in some way that you guys were considering?
Certainly could.
Like what? The doctor's office would put
A doctor's office. Like doctor's offices, or
You think they might want to put out an open park or something?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe the guy by Subway Plaza, the new dentist office, would want to...
Yeah, right. Big toothbrush or something. Well, okay, so is it limited to the articles that the store sells, or in a dental office, could they get an 8-foot toothbrush and put that outside? And then is that a sign? Because there are sign regulations pertaining to all that. So how does that work?
I would defer to Reggie about whether that's a sign or the merchandise.
Well, they're not selling the toothbrush.
They're not selling the 8-foot toothbrush, so that's
So
got to
they-
be a sign. I wouldn't
So-
see that as a toothbrush. As a merchandise.
Right, so it would have to be an actual item that's sold in the store, and you did say that.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Be a retail item.
Yeah.
Are there any businesses that would be adversely affected by this? In other words, like, for example, you drive by Pages, they have a lot of different items out in front.
Yes, they do.
Are they going to be then limited in terms of what they're able to display?
Well, their grandfather didn't.
Okay.
They were doing this 100 years ago.
All right.
Or maybe 50 years ago.
So why isn't, for example, why isn't the Guilford Food Center,
Because their grandfather
Their
did too.
grandfather.
no, but so then we have to make it, so how does someone that's walking around the green know who's grandfathered and who's not? This gets to be, it's almost like, I guess we've decided in our society that we can't leave this kind of thing to best judgment of the people that own the businesses. And then if Reggie gets a complaint, she needs to go to talk to them about their overuse of the sidewalk or something like that. We've got to write a regulation like this that could end up being A through Z.
Right, well, without this regulation, I think it's prohibited the way the laws work. So we're sort of carving out a thing saying, all right, you know what, we want to make sure that businesses in town stay in business, so we want to help you. So we're going to carve out a place that you can put some stuff outside. We're adding, we're not taking away. Now, I will tell you that I thought it was great that I was walking past Centro Pizza, and they had a table out and they had a pizza out, and they were actually selling slices out on the sidewalk, which, this wouldn't fit in there. But I thought it was great. I thought, I bought a slice and I ate it. It was great. So for me, that worked. But, I guess restaurants, you'd have to come inside and pay for it anyway. So, you
Yeah,
already said that.
it is a type of retail establishment.
Yeah.
And Tom, regarding your question, somebody walking down the street doesn't really need to know it. It's the merchants that need to know that they can only do this. And right now, they can't really do much of anything, with the exception of Pages in the Food Center.
So how many? Well, they have some days already that you can do it, right?
Yes.
8 days, 8
It's
weekends?
It's 8 days, and then they can sell outside as well.
Well, so on those 8 days, they can sell outside, but on these 12 weekends, 24 days, they can't sell outside.
Right.
So why was the original, whatever part of the regulation, because I don't know where it is in here, but there's so many pages, but when do we decide that merchants couldn't have anything outside?
It's always been in the regulation.
Grandfather.
And what was the logic?
I don't know.
Well, probably they didn't want the situation to get out of hand and have sidewalks cluttered, safety issues, people going overboard would be my guess. So there was an attempt to regulate it. You have some places that are grandfathered that have, from what I can tell, used good judgment. I guess this is an attempt to sort of level the playing field a little bit and giving other vendors the opportunity to display merchandise, because as I understand it, it does work. People do see mannequins, they do see displays of merchandise, and it does attract them into the store to hopefully make a purchase of either that item or other items. So I think it's more of trying to level the playing field a little bit, since the other folks that are grandfathered in do have an advantage.
Several months ago, we had some merchants, retail, it happened to be women's clothing, come and talk to us, and they're not getting the traffic that they're getting in their stores in other towns. And one of them now has basically packed up just recently, and I wonder if she had been able to do something more on the sidewalk. Would that have helped generate enough traffic that she would have stayed here?
So with that in mind, is this incremental? Is this going to be, gee, it worked really great on these weekends and our profits went up, 1,000,000% this weekend? Are we going to then next year, assuming that this is a one-year trial, is it going to be, can we do it every weekend because we need to make that money? Or obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but I would think it would be that.
We really weren't, when I say we, I mean EDC, we really weren't thinking that, gee, if you do it for a trial year, do it as a trial period, that it's going to be, just then we'll let it go on all the time. It was more, okay, if some issues come up, it's more tweaking it than anything else. That was our...
Right, but if it's successful, then you're going to want to do it all the time.
Perhaps. We really are not envisioning that, but possibly.
How could we not envision that? I would.
No, we weren't presenting this
right,
with that.
Right, but it's a natural progression. If this is successful, we could probably expect that a year from now, the merchants would want to display, with all due respect, more than one piece of merchandise. Because if it's successful with one piece, then I would want to try, if I were running a business, 10 every weekend, and maybe bargain it back to 5 every other weekend, and gradually work my way up to where it would look like a bazaar in town.
That is a potential that would be asked for. EDC went back and forth on the wording of this because we wanted to try to avoid just that kind of thing that, it's everything all over the sidewalk all the time. So that's why we did what we did in the wording.
My feeling, again, is what Ray said. It's trying to level the playing, and it's strictly voluntary. Not all merchants, I know for a fact of being here for as long as I have and been in the retail community business, a lot of merchants, it's there for them to use, they are not going to use it.
So if this levels the playing field, when we're talking about Pages in the food center versus other merchants, in the case of your store, putting noodles outside, would that level the playing field between, does anyone else sell them?
Walmart.
Well, they're going to put them outside too then.
No, I don't know. I don't know. We've done this, did this over the sidewalk weekends, and we did substantially well with
Right, I'm just...
the rest of the excitement.
I guess what I'm thinking is if everyone is doing it, then will that benefit that bank stock because everyone's doing it all the time?
I can't say, but I'll give you things. I was back there when Genevieve Struggs was active in the plaza, and I had sidewalk sales. Half of the plaza doesn't bother participating in it. It's strictly voluntary. I don't think you're going to get runaway bazaar or mannequins or trashy-looking displays out of this. I'm all in favor of it.
All right, so, Ray, you have more questions?
Well, no, I'm just saying, plus there is a check on this, it's for a year, right?
Right.
So if something happens, you can, sort of call it back within a year. And if a business does find it to be of a great benefit and they want to expand it, I mean, what's wrong with that, providing it's not causing problems? That's sort of a hypothetical at this point. You take it up then, but all that's before us now is something for 1 year that looks fairly limited to me.
Right, but the problem is that a year from now, then you're starting to take something away from someone who's had it for a year.
Well, then
So-
don't limit it to a year.
Let it be forever.
Well, that's
one way of looking
get
at it.
around here.
Okay, but in what you just said, though, I mean, how often is it that, it's a few individuals or a few businesses that do something they shouldn't, they go overboard and spoil it for everybody else?
Yeah, that's the way things work usually.
Yeah. But I think really that most of the merchants who decide to do this are not going to go overboard. I think they're going to see it as an opportunity and something that they could lose since it's only temporary.
Right. Tom?
Do you see any of them going further than just their own storefront? Like, there's a lot of empty spaces, churches and things like that. They're not going to be there, but the space is available. Are they going to be able to use those empty spaces? The abutting merchants.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm understanding the question. So if I'm a merchant and...
Yeah, I'm going to ask if you're only restricted to your storefront as far as the display is concerned.
Yes.
Okay. If that's in here somewhere?
Yes.
I didn't see it, that's why I was asking the question.
It has to be immediately adjacent to your building.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's the building structure,
Right.
which means if I'm in a strip center and the store next to me is out and my table is 4 feet into the other window, I'm still okay.
No.
Why? It's touching the building.
Yes, but it's extended beyond his own storefront.
Doesn't say storefront, it says
No, it says
building structure.
immediately
Abut the
adjoining
building
retail
structure.
outlet. So it says that it has
The
to
building, you
immediately
can't say
adjoin
the
it.
whole strip center, a building.
I think Tom has a question.
I am particularly concerned about a specific type of business, and I'm a retailer, so I doubt very much that if this regulation were to apply to someone who was a power equipment dealer, like Lusecki, or like Harold's that used to be in town, or a business like that, and even Tractor Supply, to say to them that they can't display lawn tractors outside if they have the air to do it, because this is for the whole town, right? Yeah. This would probably mean someone would not move into Guilford to run their business here.
Well, no, it says no equipment in motion shall be displayed, nor shall...
But it says only one unit.
Well, that's right. They could put a tractor out there today.
A
They could
tractor.
Put something else out there the next day.
You
Right now, they
already
don't have any.
approved outdoor display for Tractor Supply on the site.
I mean, I think the thing is,
Well,
you
actually-
can't display the equipment, you just can't have the motor running.
So we're going to approve a display for Tractor Supply
That's already approved.
on their site plan.
That's done.
Yeah.
I understand that, but how does that work with this?
Well, they don't have anything in front of their store right now. Everything is in their display area behind the fence. So this would be if they wanted to take one of their horse stalls and put it out front. They could do that under this. But I think what you said earlier is probably really important. I want to mention it. Right now there's a shortage of heating pellets, and your store has a lot. And so, if you wanted to put 20 skids out front, 20 tons, you could do that under this. You could line up, because it's one item. So, like right now you have unlimited supplies of pellets, you said. So under this, you could line up the front of your store with pallets if you wanted.
It says one display item.
To me, that wouldn't be one item, that would be as many,
So one bag?
yeah, would you be that strict with it if you were seeing it?
I wouldn't.
Well, I'm asking Reggie, who will have to enforce this.
Well, I thought when we were talking about it, we were talking about one display item being if a clothing store wanted to put a mannequin outside.
Right.
It was limited to one item, not multiples of one item.
Right.
One item.
Yes.
Right, so technically a mannequin that has a shirt, a necklace, a hat is in violation.
Right, but he said that would be
Well,
like an understood
it's one
thing.
item.
But actually, what Reggie said is true too. You know, we give permission to someone in Shoreline Plaza the right to put unlimited amounts of garden supplies all summer long.
But it's one item. If you're saying that mannequin's one item, then I stick a table out there and I have 20 items on there. Well, my table's still my one. That mannequin is one item that's
Right.
facilitating for the other items.
It's kind of blurred.
It's way
So
too.
I'm going to guess then that if we approve this, then we won't be needing to tell Walmart that they can put 10 pallets of garden supplies outside. They're covered under this for one item. Is that correct?
Now, they're already approved to have outdoor display of garden supply for this year.
Right, because we gave them a 2-year thing.
And
But then after that,
Big Y has permanent approval for outdoor display of merchandise for 150 linear feet and at the Shoreline Plaza. And they utilize that. They advertise. You see plants in the summer, you see reeds in the winter.
okay, so that's, I'm glad you said that.
Firewood.
With that in mind, there's someone who has already the right to do this, and they know what the rules are. Have they ever gone too far?
Yeah, and I go in and tell them you're creepy.
So then, could we look forward to, if they did it, other people probably might?
How about the nursery center next door to the what used to be the Fonacellos? Do they have a site plan that has things on it that they can display outside?
That nursery is moving.
Well, if there was one there, but do they have a site plan for the plants that are out front?
No.
So then they would come under this regulation and they could only have one plant out front?
They'd have to come to us with a site plan to show us what they wanted to do. That nursery was doing exactly what Fonacellos was doing.
Right, but they're not grandfathered in because they're not Fonacellos. So that's interesting, because they must have been in violation then if they had all those trees and plants in them.
No, because we
Because they
looked
came
at
for a
it,
site plan.
it's the same kind of use that was there. It was a garden center, garden supply center. They sold plants and they sold supplies.
Walter?
Steve, so the stores that are grandfathered are Big Y, which has permanent approval. It's not so much grandfathered as received permanent approval.
Right.
Pages and
Food center.
the food center.
And you also have stores that receive variances and special permits from you. Ella, where she shops, did, and so did Chroma Gallery to have outdoor display of merchandise, but they specifically showed on a site plan exactly where that was going to be. The Cilantro building has approval for a mannequin and a sign on the landing. And as you remember, there are like 3 steps that go up and there's a landing. You all approved that. You all approved merchandise to be displayed on the porch where Blue Moon Artisans are. That was done quite a long time ago.
Where's that?
You also approved outdoor display areas at the gas stations to have seasonal things, whether it's firewood, whether it's soda, whether it's antifreeze. That's approved for Shell, that's approved for the 2 mobile stations, and also for the Hess station.
So to level the playing field, should we take all those special permits away and just limit them to one item?
You can't.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Granted, we've already granted them special permit, you can't take it away.
Steve, I was wondering, did you look at other towns to craft your language here?
We didn't.
Are you familiar with any other towns that have similar provisions?
Off the top of my head, I'm not. I tend to think, though, that some of our adjacent towns may actually be very unrestrictive.
Okay.
Steve, you received this originally from Janet Testa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was after a meeting where a couple of stores like Breakwater Books had mentioned how outside display had helped them.
Mm-hmm.
The pattern here overwhelmingly is the green, in the sense of the gas stations, operate the way that they operate, and of course those are on a state road, but they're not going to head out to the sidewalk so much as the outdoor display is sort of along the edge of the store typically. The Chroma, Ella, Cilantro, Guilford Food Center, and Pages all had this, and originally when I brought this up to Janet Testa before the summer began, I was talking about reviewing the possibility of Ray leveling the playing field when it comes to how green merchants operate. In terms of leveling the playing field, which is a good reason to increase our tolerance for this sort of thing, really the green is where more people walk. The green also feeds itself in the sense that business begets business within that pedestrian zone. And this is a set of these terms can be interpreted in many ways. And if we were to approve it as is, we'd be opening up the entire of Route 1 to a lot of different creative interpretations. But also we'd be providing a direct financial benefit to Frank's 5 businesses on Route 1 and the business that Richard is the general manager of on Route 1. So, I mean, obviously you have a law firm on Route 1 which probably is not significantly affected.
No,
So,
law has nothing to do with it. But
I mean,
This is what we do.
Put a scale on it.
right? I mean, that would be cute. I mean,
But we actually already have.
it's hard to
signs.
imagine.
That's about it.
Yeah. So for tonight, if we're all going to vote on this and consider it, I think it would behoove us to limit it to, for instance, the green, or more specifically, the historic district, south of Route 1. I know that we always want to say yes to everything that comes down the pike. But in this case, considering that it's going to cause a lot of different kinds of recusals, and also we have a lot of different problems with the drafting of this doesn't fit with anything that I've ever seen from any other town. So if we're to do this as is, we're opening up really mostly Route 1, but actually Route 80, 77, a host of bizarre situations where, we don't really know what a but even necessarily means. Because right now like today, there were more than 30 A-frame signs along Route 1. Many of them are still there right now. Now, businesses are expected to take those in at night. That absolutely does not happen. There's that never, I mean, there are.
We're going to enforce that. She can't drive around at 5 o'clock
Right,
at
she's
night.
here. Right, we have limitations to our enforcement,
I'm
but
not sure
also,
it says you have to take them in at night. Is there something where it says that, Reg?
No, it doesn't say they have to come in.
so they're not expected to take them in, so they can
No.
just leave them out all the time. So it's very much like it's like a permanent
365 days
sign.
a year.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if we're creeping towards that, towards a permanent sign out front, or towards, permanent sales all the way down Route 1, I mean, I've spent some time in Hong Kong, and it gets dicey. But in this case, all of these terms are subject to interpretation. And the original conversation that I went over with Janet about options for variances and other kinds of things, after attending an EDC meeting where a couple of businesses talked about how much they feed each other in the green area, that's really more confined to the green area than to, say, driving situations along Route 1.
But see, I would disagree about restricting it just to the green area, because you have businesses such as Carol's Creation and the Bike Shop. And even remember, that whole issue where you had to approve their new sign and all that. That makes a difference to their business. It's not like an apron that they're going to put out there. They're putting out their merchandise, they're going to bring it in.
And the application for that is very straightforward. And if they need help with that, I think that the EDC is a great committee to show them the exact process that goes in to getting that kind of variance for a certain period of time. Right now, we don't know how many businesses would actually be affected by this.
I don't know the number, but
Right,
I would
it's
say also...
higher than 100, right?
I don't
No,
know.
it would have to be. It's everybody.
It's really, I mean, how many businesses, you're the chair of EDC, how many businesses are there in Guilford?
Off the top of my head, I do not know that. Brian would know.
More
I
than-
don't know.
More than, how many?
More than a couple hundred.
More than a couple hundred?
When you say
Or?
businesses, an awful lot of those are professional offices. An awful lot of them are, or they're one person.
Right, and I know that you guys interact a lot more with retail. Like, how many members of the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce are there in Guilford?
I don't know that number.
So, how many retail establishments came to you with requesting this kind of thing?
I can say that there were several. I can't say beyond that.
I mean, it's not privileged. You're a town commissioner. It's just like, was it 2? I mean, I saw 2.
No, it was more than 2.
So 3 or?
It's more, and some of them I don't even know.
No, I mean, I just mean how many are you aware of? I don't mean how many in total. How many businesses are
I
you
would
aware of
say
that asked?
probably about 6 or 7 that I'm aware of.
And they were Breakwater Bucks?
I'm not gonna mention who they were.
Well, why not? I mean, this is...
Well, what's the point of this? I mean,
Well,
what are you
Ray,
trying to get?
I'd like to still be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm
a
just
couple
trying
more
to
minutes.
get this moving along, so at this point,
Two more minutes, Mr. Chairman?
2 minutes. You got 2
Yeah,
minutes.
Right, I appreciate...
Well, I'm just trying to
Whenever I ask
understand where
certain
you're
questions,
going.
I know you intervene, but this commission needs to take turns. We have 2 businesses that we've discussed.
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Come on.
So what are the other 4 businesses that came to you that you're aware of that wanted this?
I'm not gonna give you those names.
There's your answer.
Well,
Yeah,
Next question.
If they were on the record...
do they exist?
Excuse me. If they were, yes, of course they exist. But if they came to us at an EDC meeting, they'd be on the public record. If somebody says something that is not on the public record, I'm not obligated to tell you who it is, and I'm not going to.
So only 2 businesses that we're aware of want this ordinance. So we should be granting this variance to those 2 businesses. I mean, this is a blanket ordinance. This is a blanket regulation for hundreds of businesses. And there are 2 businesses that we're aware of that are actually interested in
No,
it.
I said they're more than that. I'm just not telling you who they are, Walter.
Right, and you had somebody that's sitting on this commission that is in business that said he's one of them. or he's no
That's
longer
right.
went to him, but he would adapt that and think it would benefit. As a retail business in town, I think it would benefit me as well.
And we're expecting both of you to
I
vote
could-
on this regulation.
Without donning.
It's a display. I could put in, when I have a special on coffee, I have a display, a nice rack, I could have 60 pounds of regular coffee. It's one item.
Right.
You know, a complaint that a lot of the merchants have, and this came out especially during the sign regulations hearings, which were, what, 1.5 to 2 years ago, and that is that they're not seen well enough from the street. The signage, the little signs on the marquees are too small. Here is a chance where, so if somebody's in Strawberry Hill and they want to put something, you know, right in front of their window, that makes it easier to attract attention, or the new stores that will go in on the west end of town, in front of the apartments that are being finished up there. I mean, why not make something as easy as possible for the business in town to attract business? You know, people complain, including some people here, saying, well, gee, we have a lot of vacancies, a lot of vacant store windows. What is EDC doing to try to get, you know, to fill those? Well, why not make it as easy as possible for businesses to come and be successful? Why put obstacles up?
And this will do that.
It certainly will help.
I'm going to recognize someone else.
Yeah.
Bill?
Has anyone come before the commission in the past with a request like this and had it rejected?
Well, it was Wednesday, Tuesdays. We've had a lot of people come for one store or two stores. I don't know that we've had a blanket request before. Richard?
Just echo what Steve said. When I was in his shoes, I used to get the questions of vacancies and things like that. It's a matter of marketing, and this is strictly voluntary. For anybody that's scared about that we're going to look like a rummage sale, I will propose to you that it's available. You probably got 40 retail merchants in the town of Guilford. I would be lucky to say if you get 3 or 4% of them that will even take part in this.
That's actually, oh, sorry.
No, sorry, Steve, I just wanted, I know you've talked about this since November, and maybe even before then, and you've had EDC meetings about this. Can you just talk a little bit about the negative side effects, if there are any that you came about in your discussions?
The only real negative was that we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just something, you know, where the whole green and other areas were just going to get cluttered. So you're not going to see racks of, you know, of all different clothing out there. We didn't want that kind of, we were very, very specific about that. Had a lot of discussions going back and forth. And ultimately, you know, I pushed to get this as tight as it is so that we won't have that happen. And I have to say, with Reggie and George's help.
So are you comfortable that this is tight enough that things won't slip through the cracks? The wording is not bendable with ands and buts and, you know, different pronouns and conjunctions. Like, is this concise? This in here?
I think it is. It's not to say, you know, sitting here won't think of something that maybe would make, you know, I mean, I know that when regs are written, there's a lot of ambiguity. If you see something,
People are good at finding it. Well, you know, you said that right now it's 8 weekends a year that we currently have it. Of those 8 weekends, how many merchants participate in that?
No, it's 8 days a year.
8
not
days.
weekends.
So when we have those days, how many participate? Because that's probably going to be a good barometer for how many are going to
Yeah.
participate in this.
I would say 20 or 30. Does that sound about right, Reggie? Because
Yeah, merchants in the plaza where Subway is used to put items out, and I don't remember seeing that at the Shoreline Plaza. I know they did on the green, and I know Carol's Creations did. And I think a few might have done it at the Guilford Plaza.
And in all those times that we have done it, has there ever been one complaint?
No.
Tom, what do you think?
Strawberry Hill, too.
Well, another look at permission to have outdoor display merchandise all the time.
Tom's going to weigh in.
Steve, would you have the merchants sign up for this so that they all understand the rules?
No, we wouldn't have them sign up for it.
You would have them sign an agreement that they're going to go along with this? And
No, because I don't think that...
You don't have that many.
You have to do that for a zoning regulation.
We've really asked some good questions. Do we have any more? Or?
Well, if it's just 3 or 4%, I just don't understand why we need something that goes to the entire town.
Well, we're not in deliberations yet, but there might be some
Oh yeah, I was
compromise.
asking Steve, I mean, that was why I was asking Steve about the number of businesses. I mean, it
So-
seems like we've got 2 named and 4 anonymous businesses applying for a reg for the whole town.
Right, so when we get to deliberations, maybe we could say, maybe not an entire year, maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months to try it out, maybe 1 month starting in April and seeing how it is and then revisiting it. Maybe there's a different way than saying an entire year. And that way, if there is a problem, know it right away, and we can change it right away. Rather than them saying, oh, we've been doing it for the last year, how come you're taking it away now?
Yeah.
That might be something we could think about, but that's for deliberations. Any other questions?
I would say if you're going to do that, rather than say we'll just do it for a very, very short period, then amend the sidewalk, do a lot more sidewalk sale days, or just expand the number of days they can do what they're already doing.
Right.
But this was to say...
Well, the
to
problem
limit
with,
it more
the problem with
than-
that is that they're selling on the sidewalk. It's not.
Exactly, and that's
this
what I was
is-
going to say. This is more restrictive, to get a bit more frequent.
Right. Alden, anyone in the audience care to weigh in? Please.
Joe Nugent, 423 New Whitfield Street. I have reservations with like the Shoreline Plaza, where you have the fire lane.
Oh, right.
There's never a time that I've been in there that I haven't seen cars in the fire lane. Look at this scenario, July 3rd, big sales, merchandise all out on the sidewalks. Cars on the fire lane, because if you got merchandise out on the sidewalk, you can see it better when you drive by. So, wait there. I just want to pull up here and look, I want to see what this coat costs or something like that. We park the car.
Right.
Walmart, the heating unit catches fire, drops from the ceiling, hits the fireworks display. All of a sudden, you got a ladder truck, 2 engines, and a tanker that have to get into that parking lot, unload 2 inches hose, get into the doorway, and you got people coming out, and you got merchandise all over the place. That's a safety issue. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Actually, you bring up a valid point. Is this a issue we need to ask the fire department if they care about? Because, with their fire plan, with the fire lanes, is that they have immediate access to all the stores. And here we're going to have stuff out on the sidewalk. Do we need to concern ourselves and ask them or no?
There's supposed to be one display item.
Right, but as we know, we have seen what happens when you allow someone 135 feet and it grows into much more than 135 feet.
Well, the commission denied a second or a third propane cage at Big Y. as you
After the
recall.
fire department said, no, no, no,
Right.
no, no.
But currently, they still have their outdoor display of 150 linear feet of merchandise, and Walmart has approval to put their garden with their plants outside when the weather gets better.
Right, so they're guaranteeing 36 inches of sidewalk, or at least.
That has to be, that's ADA.
Right, so I guess my point is staff saying that the fire department has no interest in this and that they're okay with that? We don't have to concern ourselves
Well,
with that?
they haven't commented yet about it.
Should we ask or no?
Well, you can.
You guys have any thoughts on that?
They'll have any of this police department too. PD.
Oh, shoplifting, shoplifting would probably be a...
Traffic control. But PD has a great presence. PD has a great presence in Shore.
Good, I'm glad you said that. All right, so any more questions or comments? Deliberations are going to be fun on this, I can just tell. Anything else from anybody? Thank you very much for your comment. I hadn't thought about that. All right. Thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate it. I know you put a lot of work into that. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Oceano LLC, Jeffrey Vernon, 45 Whitfield Street, map 29, Illinois, zone R3, coastal area management site plan, install concrete footers to existing support post, and reinforced falling foundation with concrete post for existing garage, section 27391. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Come on down. Who's doing Oceano?
Otis Co. That's me.
Ocean Co. Hi.
Hi, Jeff Vernon for Ocean Co.
What do you got, Jeff?
It's small, 2 and I guess half-car garage down at the end of Whitfield Street, falling down, and it's, probably at least 100 years old and needs posts that are underneath the garage replaced in order to keep it from falling down and to be level.
Okay. This isn't after the fact. You were doing this and...
Yeah, I originally didn't think that I needed any permit because I wasn't changing anything within the structure, and then learned that I need a building permit because I'm changing structural supports, even though the actual building itself isn't changing.
Yep.
Was told by the building inspector that I was fine, go ahead, and then I did, and then Reggie said that I wasn't because I was below 4 feet above sea level, so then we looked and I wasn't, but then it turned out that the work that I was doing was actually below 4 feet of sea level because I was doing the sports. So there have been a number of stops and starts with respect to whether can or can't. And so...
This is also a CAM management area, coastal area management?
It is. I think it's unclear because the line isn't drawn right there, but it's clearly, if the interpretation is there work being done below 4 feet of sea level, the answer to that is yes. The posts obviously are secured into the ground in that space. The garage itself is actually above it, and like I said, we're not changing anything within the garage, and we're actually not changing the footprint even of the posts, just changing, making the posts secure. So.
Has any other work been done in the property, changing any heights of any? No.
No, everything is exactly the same.
We have
some letters.
Would you? Oh, I love it. Thank you. Good job.
This is from John Goucher, dated December 22nd, to Kevin McGee. Kevin, we have reviewed the above referenced proposal for consistency with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies and offer the following recommendations. While the plans do not include any details regarding which portion of the garage will be repaired, the general description of the work suggests that the proposal is for minor activities, any impact of which should be able to be adequately mitigated through the use of standard and appropriate erosion and sedimentation control measures. Aerial photographs reveal vegetation that may be indicative of the presence of tidal wetlands along the existing garage. However, the site survey does not include any coastal resources beyond the coastal flood hazard line. A requirement of CGS Section 22A-105 is that coastal work resources on the contiguous to the site be spatially related to the proposed work. Based on the included site survey, portions of the garage lie within the state's regulatory jurisdiction. Therefore, the applicant should include additional information showing where the proposed concrete supports are to be located to ensure that the necessary authorizations have been obtained prior to the commencement of work. The applicant is advised to contact Krista Romeo with this office's permitting and enforcement section regarding the need for the state authorization. Krista can be reached directly via email at kristaromero@ct.gov or by phone at 860-424-3399. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any additional information. John Goucher.
Nice.
Did you get this email?
I got the email. I had several correspondence with her via email and spoke with her, and the result was that the inspector, who I guess covers a relatively large scope of area, was going to come out and check it at his convenience.
Have you ever done any other work in Guilford?
Not that I've been before you guys sworn it.
Have you done any other work in Guilford before? Like in Sagem's Head or anywhere else?
How do you mean?
Any other
I've done a lot of work in Guilford. I don't understand
the context
of the question. I'm down here almost every day. That's your question for the last 6 years.
And so, but this after the fact, it doesn't sound like you've gotten any permits from anybody at this point. You just started work and.
I didn't think I needed a permit. And when I learned that I needed a permit, I immediately applied for it. I was told by the building inspector that I was fine.
Yeah.
And then I learned the next day that I wasn't, and at that point, work was done. Literally, this happened over the course of maybe 8 hours.
So the work's totally done.
The work for which I need a permit, which is to put in these concrete supports in place of the wood supports that were there, is done.
And as you are continuing work on the project currently?
The work that's being done on the project does not require a permit at this point. The only thing that requires a permit is
the footing,
touching the area below 4 feet below sea level, which is where the footers are secured.
And we're going to need a DEP also.
Yeah, that's...
I gotta keep reading the letters. There's another, this is one, maybe I should have read first, because this is, yeah, do you want to read it? We got a couple from Kevin. Well, we have an email and your letter.
The application is for an activity of installing a concrete footer to reinforce the stone foundation. Based on our review of the site plan, several of the current concrete footings have been installed below the coastal jurisdiction line of elevation 4.0 at NHD. Any work conducted below the coastal jurisdiction line requires an application to receive, or certificate of permission to receive the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection and Energy. The applicant has been advised to contact DEP for assistance. The work completed is minor, has a minor impact to siltation to the adjacent wetlands. The Planning and Zoning Commission approval should note that this work is only approved for work conducted above elevation 4 NADP. So any footings and stuff, or if he's doing any deck repair above that elevation, above this salt marsh, because it's basically a garage which is cantilevered over the marsh. So any work that he pretty much does there requires either permission from us in terms of framing, and also DEP for anything which goes below that elevation.
So Kevin, there might still be more work that requires planning and zoning approval.
I'm not sure what else he's contemplating in there.
No.
Do you do decking for the garage, or are you done with the decking?
No, it's that everything is exactly as it was, except for those footers. And then we're, once the ground, once secure, then, which it is now, just going to, the walls are insulated, replacing the windows, and putting in some paneling inside.
There's no decking work or anything like that?
No.
You already completed that already?
Okay. Do you have any other letters you want to read?
Well, this one is from Kevin again. This is an email that you wrote to John that I should have probably read before I read the email from John. But I'll go ahead and read it.
Never too late.
Hi, John. I talked with Reggie Reed, Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer, regarding this application, and she indicated that this is an after-the-fact activity. Reggie received a complaint of work being conducted in this garage. Reggie investigated the complaint and found workers repairing the wooden garage floor who were getting ready to install sonotubes with plastic feet to secure the garage floor. At this time, Reggie observed salt water under the garage floor. Reggie issued them a notice of zoning violation, notifying them to cease work until proper permits have been secured, including a possible certification of permission from DEP. The property owner wanted to stabilize his garage floor and ignored the request to cease work. Looking at the survey map provided as part of the application, it is highly likely that the sonotubes were installed in the state's jurisdiction. We will contact the applicant to have the plan revised to show the location of the sonotubes with ground elevation, if possible, and for the limits of the tidal marsh to be placed on the survey map. Kevin. So I think that is our last letter.
I think I'm misunderstanding. There's salt water under your garage?
Is there another letter?
I don't know, there's salt water, there's water in there. It doesn't actually drain into the swamp. It's actually a depression under there. So, the source of the water is, I suppose a super high tide or something maybe could come in and go. But I don't think that generally every day the tide comes and goes. The utilities are up.
Yeah, Rich, to help me with the question here is, I'm not sure if you saw the plan, is the coastal jurisdiction, this is the garage here?
Yep.
This is the coastal jurisdiction line, we're up, as far as I can measure, up to the edge of the garage here.
Yep.
Reappears up at the corner of the garage here.
Across this garage.
So it goes right up underneath the garage, it's cantilever over, when they built this thing, I don't know, 50s or 30s, who knows when this garage got built, it was built above them.
So is this really a good example of the coastal tidal rise? Is this really where the rubber hits the road?
This is where you're getting into the look of move back.
Right, okay, I got it. Huh, okay.
Because as you see, with the water underneath you, you're not just dealing with the town of Guilford, you're dealing with the state DEP.
Right, exactly. Well, good. Tom, your thoughts?
Any questions?
Frank?
No questions, just,
Just a
deliberate on it.
Is that the new shoreline you're talking about, or unusual things?
Stop it. Just stop it. Sir, anything else, sir?
No.
No. Folks, any questions? Stop it.
Oh, you know what, there was one more letter in there.
Oh, another letter?
But, you know, it's from the applicant, and it's a letter that he wrote to his neighbors.
Right.
Do you want me to read it in? Do you want us to just generalize it, or do you not care?
It's up to you.
I'll go ahead and read it in. This is January 5th, 2015, from Jeff Vernon. Dear neighbor, we're applying to planning and zoning in order to reinforce our failing support posts and beams under our small detached garage on our property. The garage structure will remain the same size and structure in the same location. Only existing posts and beams under the garage will be reinforced or replaced. The current supports are failing and the issue must be resolved. In order to do this, we need a special permit. The public hearing will be held at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center on Wednesday, January 21st at 7:30. Application and plans may be reviewed at the Office of Planning and Zoning at 50 Boston Street, or feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Jeff Vernon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Beat this to death. I think so. Anybody else? Last chance. No?
DEP comment, other than say that they're going to swing by?
Well, that's John.
There should be a letter from Goucher.
Yeah, well, he wrote that email that
He wrote an email
yeah.
indicating of his concern.
His concern.
In terms of consistency, because they have to go to DEP for their certificate of permission.
We don't have anything other than
His
that.
concerns were the application not being shown complete in terms of the resources.
I contacted them after that, right, and they were going to come inspect.
Right, that's a different person. That's Kevin Zabel, who's the enforcement officer.
I spoke with the woman that told me to contact, yeah.
Right, he was trying to determine was your work within the coastal jurisdiction line or above the line, whose jurisdiction is it? And the plans now show that it is work in the jurisdiction line where
The plans have always shown.
where you need to now provide an application to DEP for that work.
Is that been filed?
I literally, when I got that letter, emailed and called them that day, and they were coming to inspect it as soon as they could.
Okay, so they'll come inspect and then tell you if you need to file an application?
I guess, I'm not familiar with how that piece of it works.
So just one last final question for me. The garage floor, you're going to cast or have cast a cement slab setting on sonotubes going down?
No, the floor itself is on the existing beams that were there, and it's plywood.
And that holds your car up?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Because the beams are now reinforced.
Right, so they're
going across.
So the beams are on sonotubes, and how far down do they go?
The sonotubes vary in depth. Some go down a little more than a foot, some go down a couple of feet.
Did you hit any rock or anything? Or
Yes, yeah. So they go down, and then there's an application for the base of the sonotube tube, which is a concrete foot, which you put in an application like that.
Okay, so you're on solid ground then?
We believe so, yes. It stayed there this long with rotten wood posts, so.
And there's probably not pressure treated?
Yeah, so we feel pretty good that this is a big step forward.
So I guess you're kind of replacing what's there with something that's more up to modern standards?
Yes. Indeed, exactly. And like I said, the beams that were there previously remain.
Good. All right. Anybody else? Last chance. Can I get a motion to close Ocean Co?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. McClellan, Kevin, 405 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 5, A. Zone L1. Site plan special permit and coastal area management site plan. 15 unit residential townhouses, 273, 250, and 273-91. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is John Paul Garcia. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut, principal office, 190 Fairwood Road, in the town of Bethany, and I'm here representing McClellan LLC in the matter of a development of approximately 7.5 acres of property located at the southwest corner of Whitfield Street and Yacht Club Road. Before we start, I've got a 11 by 17 sketch, which is a little bit of a revision to the drawings. I have a copy for the member of the commission, and it's not much different than what you have or should have seen in your design pack, in your packet there. Yep, one at a time. And, oh, I'm sorry, I have, okay, I apologize, I thought I had, okay, I can't concentrate myself, I'm sorry. The proposal that's in front of you, the site, let's start a little bit with a little history of the site first. This site was the subject of a previous application for industrial use. The zone is industrial, and it was this application approximately 2007 that we were in front of this commission with an application for an industrial use. Subsequent to that application, the building was never built, but the town of Guilford passed their town, or their town south district regulations. So in 2012, Kevin started talking about, after those regulations were passed, of possibly doing something similar to that. We came in and talked to George and Reggie and some other people in town, and the feedback was positive. So at that point, we went ahead with a proposal to the health department and got approval for a septic system. And it's a relatively unusual way to approach a project because in this particular case, the septic design drives the units. So we started that process last February, last March, last April, and we received an approval from the health department for a septic system, which is actually in front of the building. So that drove the design of what we had and where we had it. We have 30 bedrooms or 32 bedrooms on site, which is the maximum you can have before you go to a DEP compliant system, which is not something you want to do if you're going to avoid it. So we then went to design review. We received design review comments with a basic plan. Kevin then retained, and Mr. McClellan's back here, then retained Mr. Small and Mr. Appleton. Mr. Small is the architect, Mr. Appleton is the landscape architect. They subsequently went back to design review on a number of occasions and perfected the site plan that you presently see in front of you. What this is approximately 4 buildings. Each building is grouped differently, it's set back from the other. It provides you with a bit of a relief. It's approximately, I think it's 12 two-bedroom units and 6 one-bedroom units. This unit actually here has 2 units, one on top of the other, which is where your 30 bedrooms comes in. It has parking in front that comes in from Whitfield Street, exits onto Yacht Club Road, which Kevin owns a good piece of. It has exterior parking for 9 cars, and then it has parking per unit. It has a garage, single car garage. You have copies of the architecturals. It has a single car garage and parking in front for additional cars. So we have approximately 43 parking spaces on site to handle this. The regulations the regulations that govern this development are relatively flexible in everything that you can possibly think of. There's nothing set in stone very similar to a residential, an R18 or an I1 zone. So, coming up with what we have here is kind of an art form. So we have 43 parking spaces. 45, excuse me. I apologize.
2 handicaps.
We have, I said, is our septic system in front, which is relatively unusual. One of the other things that we have is a site that's serviced by city water and gas. And again, it's a relatively unusual situation where you have a septic system serviced by city water. The buildings look like this, that's the proposal. And that's actually, you can pass it around if you want. It's kind of a little bit, it's deceiving only because the buildings are set back from each other, so there's architectural relief here. The buildings are not a straight line. The intent is to try to give as much character to the buildings as possible. So the intent was to set it back a little bit. And there's a fairly substantial landscaping plan that was finally hashed out at design review between Mr. Appleton and the design review people. The site is handled, there's on-site stormwater detention for a 2-year storm. There's a underground detention basin in the back. Stormwater is conveyed via conventional pipes and catch basins. It's sent to the back of the structure. There's an underground system of pipes that treats it through a sediment trap that's in front of the system and then discharges into the wetlands. That's how we handle stormwater. It's relatively simple. On Friday, we received review comments from the fire department, and that caused a little bit of a flack because the fire department now wanted a 22-foot wide access road around the rear of the building, which is what you see there. So what we ended up doing, the original design looked like this, to be perfectly honest with you. The original design looked like that, and as you can see, the buildings were set back fairly far. What we ended up doing, and I spent pretty much all day today doing, was pulling the buildings forward 15 feet. Yeah. I didn't have anything to do today, so this is what we needed to do. And we pulled the buildings forward 15 feet, which coincidentally is where we had them when we started the design review on them and pushed back. So it's a bit of a push and pull with design review and the fire department. But the fire department is presently pleased with what we gave him. So he now has access behind the building, and that takes care of design review. We have approval from the health department. We have a review we've been in contact with Kevin's office and with John Goucher from DEEP, and we have their review comments, and they've been favorable. They want some minor changes here and there. One of the things that they want is they want some additional grading. John Goucher would like some flatter grading adjacent to the two-unit building at the north end of the site. He wants this flattened out. He's worried about the Frank Mighty's ever disappearing and this becoming a wave zone or velocity zone and causing issues. The units themselves are slab on grade. There's no basements because of the proximity to the flood stage at elevation 12, so we're above flood stage. And the front grading is going to raise the site. If anybody knows what the site looks like now, it's presently used for construction. Paving operation, that will be cleaned up and the site raised a little bit to accommodate the septic systems and the new structures. I don't know, to be perfectly upfront with you, we have the review comments from all the town departments, and again, you would have copies of those, and with some minor changes, which is what some of the comments are. I think we've met everything that the town staff has asked for. We've had a number of meetings with George, we had a number of meetings with Reggie, and we provided, I think, all the information that everybody's asked for. So, and that's basically it. It's a relatively simple, and I'm trying to keep this simple. It's because I'm sure you're going to have questions and I don't pronounce some of the other stuff. But it's a relatively simple application. It's a relatively simple site plan for the site, and I think it's a vast improvement over what was previously approved on this site.
I do have one question. I remember during some of the Arrow paving applications, there was an issue with access by the public on Pages Lane. And as a matter of fact, there's a letter in the file about somebody saying that we should get an easement. So maybe, can you refresh me?
Sure, okay. There's a question about that. And Reggie and I have had that discussion. And John Goucher is what you're looking to, has raised the question about access to Page's Lane, or to Yacht Club.
Right.
There's an access on Sunset Creek. Excuse me, I forgot to mention that. Sunset Creek is right here. Okay, there's already an access on Sunset Creek. That's the first thing. The second thing is...
Sunset Storage, or?
Yeah, that's what they call it, Sunset, yes. That's the south side of his property.
So over the Sunset
On
Storage?
his property, there's already an access. There's already a public easement. The second thing is there's actually a DEEP, which we just sent a copy to Reggie about 5 minutes ago, from May of 2014 from DEEP, asking that there be no traffic other than what's there for the yacht club because it disturbs the eagles. They don't want people walking up and down. The third thing is, and I'd rather not let Kevin start speaking, but if he wants to, I will. He does not want to give public access because there's an issue with speeding and drinking as it is now. And it's his feeling that he gives an easement, he's going to be held responsible for whatever happens to somebody on that street. And it's a tight street, it's a narrow street. He has a history with it. He says you can look at, and he's right, you look at the guardrails up there and they got paint all over them. So it's his feeling that if the town wants an access, they already have one on Sunset Creek, they don't need a second one 5 feet away. And to put one on Yacht Club Road, you're inviting somebody to get clipped, and he doesn't want any part of that lawsuit when somebody gets clipped. He said that it's just a nasty situation. Plus, like I said, in May of 2014, DEEP actually sent Kevin an email asking that you don't let people down there because it disturbs the eagles. They're nesting.
So I'm confused. When we talk about access, we're talking about people walking along Whitfield Street and walking in back of this? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, walking down Yacht Club Road.
So walking in that 50 feet or 100 feet and making a turn?
There's no 50 feet or 100 feet on Yacht Club Road. It's a very narrow road. Kevin owns a good part of it. They can walk on Whitfield Street all you want.
I'm trying to reflect on what that mini storage place is. Is there a security gate or anything in front of that would prevent access?
There is, but there is,
No, that's not where the public access.
that's not with the public, there's special parking for public access.
For the record,
between
excuse
the
me.
building and my property.
That's Kevin McClellan, for the
Yep.
record.
Can I clarify? that?
Please,
It's a little bit-
jump right in.
It's a little confusing. We're kind of talking about two different things. One, in the case of Sunset Storage, when that was approved, Planning and Zoning Commission required pedestrian access through the Sunset Storage property to get access to the marsh for people that might want to walk back there and look at the marsh. Some people have asked for something similar with regard to this particular piece of property, and it's my view that that's not necessarily appropriate, and I think it's also Kevin's view, through a residential development to provide that kind of access to view the marsh. More importantly, the town maintains quite unequivocally that we have access over what's variously called Pages Lane, usually called Pages Lane, sometimes called Yacht Club Road. The town has access over that road now legally by virtue of the fact that we own a substantial portion of land back there. I believe it's about 30 acres of land, which was proposed for sewage treatment plant at one time. It's been studied for a sewage treatment system that the town might build. We believe we have access to that property already over Pages Lane. There's no need for any kind of additional easement to be granted otherwise. And if anyone does want to get to the marsh or access the marsh or get to the town property, they would be able to do that using the rights of the town over that so-called Pages Lane. That's the position of the town with regard to this. There's no need to provide any additional easements. There's certainly no need to provide any easement through this proposed residential development.
With that town access guaranteed, in the eyes of the town, has there ever been an incident where access was denied or impeded?
I'm not. I've seen some communication that there was some contest about that.
So how is it that there has been an issue, yet the town's saying that there's access? I don't understand. Those two
Well,
don't go together.
I'm saying that there's access I believe that there is, by virtue of the fact that we've owned this land for a substantial period of time, and that we have the right to traverse this
So if that's
so-called
true-
Traces Lane. Someone complained during, you're referring to the communication that's in your file. Somebody was walking somewhere there, and I believe it was alleged that Kevin told them they couldn't be on that property. That they were trespassing. That was his view.
Were the Guilford Police Department involved with that?
I don't know whether they were or not.
That was
Yeah.
my wife, trying to take a photograph.
I don't know whether, to my knowledge, there was never any adjudication of that,
Right, I guess-
of that access right.
Well,
We need name and records for record.
I have a letter to get
Well,
the proceedings later on in a minute. But since you're asking, can I just tell you what happened?
Well, let me get to you in 1 second. I just want to, and I promise I will get to you. I'm not going to let you talk. You absolutely
I am familiar with
Come up
that.
front so we can get it on mic.
He will.
Thank you.
So,
I'm familiar with that circumstance, but that really, notwithstanding that, the town asserts the fact that we have the right to traverse this land to our property.
and I think that's great. However, in a situation where the town asserts its right, and yet there's a situation where the applicant is saying that he's concerned about liability, it says to me that he's still concerned that he has liability because that's his road. And I'm worried about town access because I also like to go walking in the wetlands. That's my thing. And so, even though the town maintains that its position is that we have access, having the police come to my home is certainly intimidating to me.
I can't speak to the circumstances that occurred then.
Well, let me ask you this question, George. Assuming all this is true, do we have the power to require him to grant an easement to the town or to anybody else before we can, as a condition of this application? I don't think we do,
I
but...
don't know, not that I know of. I don't believe we need to do that because we have the right to.
Okay.
We already have the right to traverse that property. Only a small portion of it is actually owned by McClellan's, my understanding. The other portion is owned by the yacht club.
So where is that other access by the mini storage place?
That's just right into the marsh, like you literally walk.
That's totally separate from this. It's over on the other side of this property.
Excuse me for the record, John Garcia again. There's a question about whether or not it's a fee simple, and I'm pretty sure it's an easement. But Kevin's had Tom Cronin, who's his attorney, research that, and it's an easement that's been granted to the yacht club. The question is, I think, has to do with the development on this side over here. If there's a question about access down this side, I think that should be resolved by Kevin's attorney and the town attorney, and that can be resolved amiably over who has what rights where. I know what George is saying, but I don't think it's germane to this discussion because we're not going to put an easement through the property, we're not going to put an easement down here.
Good.
And that's the intent. And like I said,
That's correct. This has nothing to do with this.
it's not germane. But all I'm saying is, you're asking for the easement, and I just forwarded to Reggie the request from DEP says don't let people walk down there.
I'm just trying to understand everything. Walter? Sorry.
Well, before, it looks like we're going to, the public comment is going to be a little heavier on the easement, so I just wanted to get to the three clusters one more time.
Sure.
I'm not necessarily saying this, but what would you say to someone who says that this is either 1 or 2 units too many for this property to reasonably sustain?
Why would you say that? It's not.
Because of the design of the septic is sort of...
It's already been approved.
As it were.
It's already been approved for this.
Right.
So there's no, it's not
The number of units have been approved.
I don't follow your question. We have an approval for a 32-bedroom system. 30. No, but when we did the original, approval, the approval is for 32 bedrooms. Okay? We have 30 in the units that are there now. And even that is woefully under-designed. The reason that the system is designed exactly this way is the trenches are about 50 feet apart. But the units that we have here are supported by the site. The site's not over-designed. That's why I said we backed into this. This is not the normal way you approach a design project. Usually the client comes to you and says, I want to put 265 units on 4 acres. Make it work. That's not what we did here. What we did here is what can we put on it and then backed into it. So this is not over-designed, quite the contrary, it's very comfortably designed.
And in terms of parking spaces per unit, you have a lot of confidence in...
We have a minimum of 2 per unit plus 9 overflow spaces out front.
1.5 per bedroom is what it is.
Yeah, 1.5 per bedroom.
And in terms of how close the three clusters are together, the spacing in between, do you foresee any kind of problem with that?
Fire department has no issues. The only one that would have issues is the building department, the fire department, and neither of them have any issues.
And this wouldn't impede on any sight lines from the neighbors across the street?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Would this block any sight lines that they currently have?
No, because the building, there's really not a lot of sight line from across the street. It's actually quite high.
Yep.
The other nice thing about this is the fact that in conformance with your town center, the unit locations are pretty much ideal. You're within walking distance to the center of town, walking distance to the train station. You have the yacht club, you have the marshes of view, not necessarily as a walk. But I mean, it conforms to exactly what I think you were looking for when those regulations were asked for and passed.
Should we read the letters? And we'll just ask Reggie one thing. Hey, Reg,
What?
this is not in the review area for any wetlands that we...
No, that question was settled many years ago. There are no inland wetlands on this property, and there are no inland wetlands within 100 feet of this development.
This was handled by, this was covered by Kevin's office and by DEEP. That's why you have John Goucher weighing in on what he would like to see and how he would like to see it.
Before we go to the letters, because just one more thing about the sunset storage easement. You think that when this commission, obviously I wasn't there, I was probably 8. When this commission imposed that condition on sunset storage, do you think that was beyond the powers of the commission?
No. Public access to the marshes is an appropriate requirement as part of the coastal management plan. I mean, you have to weigh the practical benefit of it. I think most people would argue that that particular easement and access probably wasn't really very much beneficial. Probably no one has ever even used it. But you don't need that in this particular case because you have access to the public resource, to the coastal resource, to the marshes via the town's rights over Pages Lane and Zark Lane. There'd be no point in requiring, walking a pedestrian easement somehow through this residential development to accomplish that.
So a condition of approval, if we were to impose a condition of approval that said that the public must have access down Pages Lane, that would be entirely redundant.
In my opinion, yes.
Has the legal right of the town been recognized by the applicant?
That's a question, that's why I said before, I think what we have to do is have Mr. Cronin, which is Kevin's attorney, get with the town attorney to hash that out. Because, I'm assuming, that anybody who's dealt with land use before, there's always, two sides. And so between the black and the white, you've got gray.
No.
Right? But you know what I'm saying. So this is not something that you and I are going to hash out, or anybody on this board is going to hash out. George has an opinion.
Well, and this is the thing, is I'm trying to figure out, he believes that it's entirely redundant, but in fact, if the town's right to Pages Lane is shaky in any way, then a condition of approval tonight would actually settle that question.
He's not going to grant it. Let me back up a second, just so there's no misunderstanding. Yeah. He's not granting an easement. So unless the town can prove, which is what George...
But the condition would not be an easement. The condition would be a condition of approval for these units. So the question would really become whether or not the units get built with this condition or don't get built without the condition.
And I don't understand what the condition would be. If the condition is an easement to allow public access over Kevin's property, the answer is no. I'm telling you that right now.
It wouldn't be an easement because this commission doesn't handle easements per se. It handles conditions of approval.
So you do recommendations of easements to the Board of Selectmen who approve it, then set a town meeting to approve. So this board will recommend things, But the question comes down is the use of the property, or non-conforming use of the property, actually correct terminology here, non-waterfront use adjacent to the wetlands is a type of property where you allow for an easement to get to the coastal resource.
Right.
So the storage units is that type of facility. A residential is not that type of facility.
It's not that type of facility, and therefore...
Which would require a public access easement to...
So it's beyond the scope of this commission to place that requirement on this type of application.
It's incompatible with this application versus, because you have conflicts between the residents, where the storage units, you don't have a conflict. Goucher, I talked with Goucher regarding this, and he also feels that this property is also not really suitable for, especially when the storage
Pages
is already...
Lane is in fact suitable.
I'm talking about the other, basically, we have public access easement on Sunset Creek, which gets somebody out to the marsh, which can do their view of the marsh. So it satisfies pretty much that requirement.
I think it's important that these are two separate questions. We don't have an adversarial relationship with McClellan with regard to with access to our property. The town has a substantial resource there, which we've owned for many years. We will maintain that we have the right to access that property.
George, is there any other way to get to that property?
No. No, except through other private property. That's the only way to get to it. It's the question of an easement for public access associated with this property is separate from whether or not we have these rights and whether or not that can be adjudicated in some way. If eventually we have to go to court and a judge would have to decide whether we have the right to access that, if somebody were to prevent that, it's really separate from this development. This development really needs to be weighed on its merits in terms of the application itself and its compliance with the Town Center South Overlay District special permit requirements. And as Kevin has said quite clearly and quite succinctly, reiterated Goucher's, there's really no desire to have public access through a condominium development or residential development to the marsh. It's not a desirable feature. It's not something that's probably even supported by coastal law. You could argue that, but it's not something that anyone is pressing for. The really important thing about this project is that this is something that we've been working on since 2004. Town Center South plan encourages us to try to facilitate the redevelopment of these undesirable industrial uses in the midst of some of our prime residential real estate in the town. We created regulations to encourage developers to do this. It supports everything that we're talking about doing in terms of coastal resilience, in terms of transit-oriented development. We have an applicant who wants to do something that's consistent with it, or is probably consistent with it. That's a judgment you have to make. That's really the important consideration here, not this issue of whether we have right to access our property or Pages Lane.
I have a question. Is this property going to be gated?
No.
So it is open to the public if they went through it, nobody could stop it.
Well, yeah, you're trespassing. It'd be like any other association. It would be like any other association, and it's not gated for a number of reasons. Personally, I think gated communities look like hell, but that's beside the...
Well, that's that kind.
Yeah, I don't think the fire department would be happy with the gated community there. I don't think visually you look happy with it. I don't think visually from Whitfield Street you would be happy with the gated community.
I just thought it'd be easier to restrict the traffic going through there other than...
I don't think you're going to have an issue. I don't think the issue is traffic coming here. I think the issue is traffic going down Yacht Club Road. Yacht Club Road. Say that 3 times fast. And I think that has to be, like I said, it's a separate issue. At some future date, and I mean in the near future, we will get that document over to George's office and let the 2 attorneys have at it, do an attorney's deal.
Before we get to the public utilities, how elevated are the utilities considering that you're south of the train tracks and reasonably close to the coast.
They're underground utilities. We're bringing water and gas in off of back of the properties, which we've already discussed with the fire marshal, and electricity comes in off the front and services. There's a pole right here. The utilities are already on site.
Right, yeah.
Okay, good.
And they'll go underground.
They'll go underground.
Oh yeah, everything's going to go underground.
Great.
Nope, no more questions.
Are these condos, rental apartments?
These are rental. Right now they're rental. It may become rent to own at some point, but right now they're rental.
Okay.
That's the proposal. Anything changes, after the first shovel goes in the ground, or before the first shovel goes in the ground.
George? For sure. Josh, you have some letters to read, so let's hear some letters.
Well, I'll start off, and this is from John Goucher to Kevin. And there are a couple letters in there from Kevin that Kevin might want to read. But Kevin, these comments are in response to the revised plan dated January 15, 2015 that included the replacement of the initially proposed retaining wall adjacent and waterward of building number 4 with a filled slope. 1, marsh and shoreline conditions may change significantly over the next 3 to 5 decades. Prudent coastal management planning requires that the new development of residential use be designed to ensure that shoreline flood and erosion control structures do not become necessary and unavoidable over the useful life of the structures. The top of the proposed 2-to-1 slope is located very close to the building foundation. Any slope erosion may be perceived as threatening to the proposed residential structure and could prompt a future owner to seek approval to construct shoreline arraignment, which would not be allowed under the current statutory framework. There are 2 approaches that could ensure that future shoreline arraignment would not be necessary and unavoidable. First, the top of the slope could be relocated further waterward and new, less steep slope be created by extending fill out to about elevation 5.5 and a VD. This would achieve a much more resilient slope of between 4-to-1 and 5-to-1. The slope could be vegetated with a combination of grass and low woody shrubs that over a short period would become very resilient to erosion. An alternative would be to design the foundation of the proposed structure such that any erosion would be threaten the structure integrity of these residential units. Thus, if erosion does occur, the slope could simply be restored to the pre-storm conditions, but shoreline protection would be unnecessary to protect the residences. Of course, a combination of the 2 approaches would be most effective. 2, the underground stormwater infiltration system is proposed in an area that has been historically filled, with test pits revealing some construction debris and gravel. The applicant has proposed over-excavating the system by approximately 3 feet, note 2 on sheet C9, and replacing the historic fill with suitable drainage qualities below the proposed elevation of the bottom of the system. We recommend that the removal of the historic fill and the inclusion of the select fill below the proposed infiltration system be a condition of any coastal site plan review approval, along with the necessary process to ensure the select fill is properly installed to maintain optimum drainage times. 3, since the site is a waterfront, water-dependent uses should be given high priority and preference in accordance with the CCMA policy. While the site is clearly unsuitable for active use due to the surrounding tidal wetlands, the applicant should include in the CSPR application an explanation as to why the site is not suitable for general public access. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any additional information. John Goucher.
Can you stop a second? What does that last paragraph mean about why public access? What is that?
Do you want me to reread the last paragraph?
I heard it and I didn't understand.
Since the site is a waterfront site, water-dependent uses should be given high priority and preference in according with the CCMA policies. While the site is clearly unsuitable for active use due to the surrounding tidal wetlands, the applicant should include in the CSPR application an explanation as to why the site is not suitable for general public access. That was from
John.
John.
What is John Goucher?
He's an environmental analyst for state of Connecticut,
So the state is saying,
Long Island Sound.
Long Island Sound,
Huh.
Office of Long Island Sound.
okay,
This was sent to Kevin today.
all right, I'm gonna
Well,
ask
Kevin has some stuff I'm sure he wants to say.
Yeah.
Kevin already addressed that.
Oh, okay, we're all set?
Yeah,
We don't need to read your letter and then,
I'll go through my,
yeah.
my letter here. Planning and Zoning Commission, 405 Whitfield Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Assessors Map 28, Lot 5 and 8A. The applicant has completed the checklist to guide low-impact development best management practices and is utilizing several of the recommended practices. The conversion of the site from industrial use to residential use reduces the impervious surface cover of a lot from 31% to 14%. The stormwater management plan system consists of catch basin and roof leaders discharging into an oil particulate separator connected to an underground stormwater management system designed to treat the first 2 inches of rainfall. The plans for the project have a sedimentation and erosion control procedures that are in compliance with Section 273-97B of the zoning regulations. In order to make sure the coastal resources are protected, I recommend the following conditions of approval. 1, John Goucher's comments regarding the decreasing the slope by building 4 and the over-excavation of the underground stormwater system be made a condition of approval. 2, revised plans should be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Enforcement Officer prior to any site construction activities. 3, a licensed engineer should oversee the installation of the underground stormwater management system, along with the installation of the grass paved fire department access way to verify that the construction was conducted in accordance with the plans and best management practices. The licensed engineer shall provide a final report to the zoning enforcement officer. 4, the town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site construction. 2, to ensure future compliance with the stormwater management system in accordance with Section 273-75F of the zoning code. Upon approval of a site plan application, but prior to commencement of any work, the applicant shall execute an agreement and file a bond with the Planning and Zoning Commission to guarantee the completion and maintenance of work required by the stormwater management plan. The engineer of record shall submit cost estimates of construction of this work to the zoning enforcement officer. B, a written maintenance and operation manual for all stormwater management systems located on the subject site. The manual should provide provisions of yearly inspections, maintenance of the stormwater system, yearly reports to the town engineer. The maintenance schedule should include, but not limited to, the weekly, monthly, and quarterly inspections of the property for litter, monitoring of the dumpsters, outside storage areas, monitoring of the catch basins, oil particulate separator, invasive species in the swales, and any energy dissipator. The maintenance plan needs to be provide a statement that the stormwater management plan be reviewed annually, and inspections and maintenance requirements may be modified, and any changes to the plan be approved by the town engineer. An as-built drawing of the completed stormwater system be prepared in accordance with 273-75F of the regulations. And D, the applicant shall file a maintenance covenant on the land records as required by Section 273-75F stormwater management subsection of the town zoning code. Just kind of note here for the commission, Section 5 is pretty much here as a reminder to the applicant. It's in our zoning code, but these things kind of get hidden and lost. And when it comes time for CO, it slows down people, so we like letting them know ahead of time before it comes to the date of the CO of those requirements there. And the applicant did receive copies of these comments.
Thank you. Good work. All right, more questions? Another letter, Richard, go ahead.
This is from James Portley, Town Engineer and Director of Public Works, dated today, January 21st, 2015. Redevelopment of the site to allow construction of 15 townhouses is shown on Site Development Plan C2, C3, and C4, with attendant detail sheets is suitable for the site. The plans demonstrate the stormwater management, traffic, site grading, and erosion control have been reasonably been addressed. Minor changes will be required in details prior to the issuance of a building permit, but otherwise the project can be built as shown. It is recommended that prior to issuance of building and site development permits, the site development plan should be reviewed, must be revised, and a construction cost estimate be provided and approved by the engineering department.
Wonderful, thank you. Any more letters or questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
What do you got?
on this building site here, are you maxed out on this, or can it be expanded at some future date, in the future?
From a physical standpoint, it's not maxed out. I mean, not according to your regulations, but from a practical standpoint, this is maxed out. We have a septic system in front which you can't put a building on, and so that's why, as I said before, the design of the septic system, which is in front, takes up a tremendous amount of what would otherwise be usable area. And so, to answer your question, for all practical purposes, this site is maxed out.
JP?
Excuse me.
We looked at the septic study in the back parcel. We may go up another whole story, like, well, I mean...
Yeah, but I think what he's talking about is coverage.
Yes, right.
Yeah, coverage, I think, basically...
Well, we don't have to base this on our septic because we may use the septic in the back one day. You never know.
Yeah, there's...
Maybe we'll go up a whole other floor.
If for some reason, what he's talking about, if for some reason the system was abandoned and they were allowed to get septic capacity someplace else, there's a possibility that you could add a floor to a building or something, who knows?
Yeah, I know.
But for all practical purposes, at this stage, given our state of technology and the state of the site plan, you're in capacity.
So you answered the question, it's expanded.
The answer is no.
No, from a practical point of view, not from a technical.
Well, from a technical point of view, right now, the answer is no also, because we have a septic system that we can't infringe upon, and we have no other place to put a septic system.
You got room here for 32 bedrooms, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
You can't go to 40?
No. And a brief discussion of why you
Some
can't.
other number, I know.
You would have to go through the entire DEEP design of large on-site sewage systems, which I would not recommend to my client. A, the cost, and B, there's no guarantee when you're done, you're going to get what you're looking for.
Okay, you didn't give me an answer, but that's okay.
The answer is no. The answer is for all practical purposes, the site's maxed out.
You went through the DEP process, though.
That's right, there's a possibility.
Well, you'd still have to come back here.
You still have to come back here.
Approval, if you got that.
Given this,
The site could handle it.
could the site handle it?
Technically, yeah.
As presently designed, no.
No.
You've got the maximum the site can
You have
handle.
to go through the whole process all over again.
Correct.
Okay.
You note that the design review committee, as you heard, has recommended approval of this, subject to reviewing the final details. And you also have a copy of an email to me from the fire marshal today, which indicates he's signed off on the revised plan, which is the one you have before you, with regard to the fire access to the rear of the building.
So it seems like everyone in the town is just ready to go. It seems like everyone has signed off and
As I
everyone's...
said, we've been working on this since 2004.
You have a letter from the health
There's a
director.
health director.
There's also in the stuff that I have from the design review committee meeting, some minutes from the design review committee meeting. No, dated November 12th. And it basically says at the end, they talk about several things in the text here. At the end, Mrs. Towers made a motion that the committee recommend PZC approval of the change of use request from industrial to residential since this was a valid and appropriate site. Mr. Wessenbaum seconded the motion. It was carried unanimously. The application was asked to return to the next committee meeting with more finalized plans. This was signed by Kathy Stewart, and it's in the record.
There's one more. Well, there's two more, unless
Dennis Johnson.
Ellen and Mike, you were here. Okay, so you're gonna speak. All right, so let me just. Then there's one other letter from Dennis Johnson, dated today. This applicant proposed housing development will consist of 4 separate apartment units, each served by individual septic systems. Soil test results conducted on the site revealed well-drained soils with suitable area for construction of septic systems. An engineered design septic system plan prepared by John Paul Garcia Associates has been reviewed and approved by the health department. Water supply to the site will be provided through connection to public water. Based upon soil test results and site plan review, it is recommended the applicant's proposed use be approved.
Can I have copies of that? It's important.
That is it for letters.
I have it's important.
Good job.
I just want to... There's a letter from Mr.
Yes. Okay, so we're all done. We can have the public speak. Please, sir. And please come up here so we can get you on camera.
Michael Liebert, representing my wife and myself, Michael L. Liebert, 434 Goodfield Street, more or less across the street from the project. First of all, I'd like to say that my wife and I think that this project is a substantial improvement to the town center side.
Good.
This comment has to do with Pages Lane and our experience with Pages Lane. We would like to ask P&Z to make a condition of approval that Arrow allow the access along Pages Lane to the town-owned property on Pages Lane. The town should have access to its own land by right, but this has not been allowed in the past by Arrow. The town could sue Arrow to gain this access, but that would be expensive for both parties. Since the town is giving Arrow considerable assistance in its application, such as the services of the Design and Review Committee, it seems like a small and sensible requirement for Arrow to allow the access along this road that the town should have in any case. This would allow citizens to walk along the scenic road and enjoy the views of the wetlands and sunsets, and would give the town the opportunity to develop its own land sometime in the future without needing a lawsuit to be able to have access to it. This has nothing to do with individuals being drunk and on Pages Lane, which is a crime. It also has nothing to do with driving automobiles down Pages Lane, which should only be accessed by people that have proper business or recreational interest at the yacht club. This has to do with people walking down Pages Lane without being harassed by the owners of this property, which happened to our family, because they tried to arrest them on it.
It's unfortunate. All right, what else would you like to say?
That's it.
All right, well, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Very good.
I have a question for the applicant. Do you own any rights to that road, which is called Pages Lane, or Country, whatever that is?
The contention, there's, I think George answered it very succinctly. The contention is that Kevin owns the right in fee simple, and the town only has an access easement to access the yacht club. It's George's, if I can summarize, just, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's George's contention that the town has more than just access easement rights to the yacht club. And I think that's what I was talking about before, is I think that has to be resolved via a conversation between Kevin's attorney and the town attorney.
And that's... It's not the yacht club, it's a private facility. The town has land adjacent to that.
So
we believe we have access rights to that.
All right, so let me just ask my question, and it's a yes or no answer. Does the applicant own the rights to that road in any way?
Yes. Yes.
So, I'm having a hard time understanding. If we were to ask you, can the public have access to the wetlands by going down that road, you're saying no?
I do have a problem with it.
Can I, let me understand why.
Okay. I've been on that road many times myself.
I have too.
Okay. I've had to jump up on the railing. These cars don't watch when they're coming out, they're texting. Some people are even drinking. Some people are banging the railing. I have pictures, different colors. It looks like a rainbow going down there.
So would you have a problem giving pedestrian access?
Absolutely. Here, I'm opening up myself to put my head on a pillow at night going, someone's going to die. And I know it. And I allow it. That's my problem. First. Second, it opens me up to a lawsuit.
So you're going to direct Cronin to negotiate with the town that citizen access not?
No, he's going to direct Cronin to resolve the issue with the town attorney. There's no, the answer is no.
Resolve it by giving walking access?
No, the answer is who owns Pages Lane and who has what rights to Pages Lane. That's the question. His problem is liability and safety.
Safety, very big.
I think the bottom line is that there are competing claims to the ownership of this and the rights to use of it. The use of it is not something we can adjudicate here. It's got to be something that's going to be...
Who plows the road?
Pardon me?
Who plows the road?
A&W. I've done it myself, A&W's done it. I mean,
I'm sure
But it's paid for by...
Yacht Club, or I do it myself. I own
I
plows.
think, let me make my point. The yacht club also claims some ownerships, some rights. The town claims some rights. This has to be sorted out in an amicable way among the parties. And for the Planning and Zoning Commission to try to impose some condition on it, I think would be counterproductive to the town's desire and interest in getting this resolved.
We have to hold while we change the tape. Sorry.
Back to yours, sorry.
It's also-
And welcome back. We just changed the tape. We did not transact any business nor have any discussions relevant to this case. And we're going to continue on with where we left off. George, you were talking. Do you want to finish your
Let me
thought?
just reiterate my observation on the subject of Pages Lane.
Yep.
It's the issue of ownership, access, and use of Pages Lane is a complicated subject. They're contesting ownerships. There are some significant issues of liability on the part of both the yacht club and Mr. McClellan in terms of the use of the right-of-way. The town has a significant interest in Pages Lane because we own a substantial and valuable piece of property that's only accessed by Pages Lane. And therefore, it's an issue that needs to be resolved by negotiations and discussions among at least the three parties, maybe even more. And it is separate from this development, from the merits of this development, in my opinion. This development shouldn't be held hostage in some way in order to try to force a resolution of that. I think that would be counterproductive, and it would also be inimical to the interests of the town and of the developer of this property. So it's something that I would recommend.
With all due respect, I'm trying to understand. The traffic flow on the proposed improvement goes onto Pages Lane, and you're telling me that there are competing interests over who owns it? And you're recommending we approve it anyway?
Yes. Clearly, the owner of the property...
George.
The owner of the property is allowing the vehicles from his development to use a small portion of that road. Yes.
Is the town asserting it owns part of it?
No. Not
the yacht club, it's between the yacht club and...
Well, the town is asserting that it has an easement over it.
The right to use it.
The right to use it.
Yes, to access its property.
By necessity.
And that's not contrary, and the use of the front portion of that property is not contrary to any of those interests.
Is there contention of ownership between the yacht club and the applicant?
Yes, I believe so.
So by us endorsing this and saying yes, we're kind of saying he has the right to use it, even though they're contending who has the right to use it. Is that correct?
No. What we're doing is we're telling him he's got the right to develop this. If there's some issue with the access, then the yacht club will sue him if they
There's no issue with
have the right to use it.
There's absolutely no issue with ownership. He owns it, that's not the discussion. What he's talking about is usage.
Okay.
The town owns 30 acres behind this piece that they claim gave them an access. But there's no discussion about who owns the property, the discussion about who has rights in the property.
So who's the yacht club in all this?
The yacht club only has an easement.
Oh, okay. So they don't own.
They don't own, they have no fee simple. The town has no fee simple. It's all a discussion about who has what rights.
Okay.
George, I just was trying to figure out, why would a condition be inimical to the interests of the town, to use that phrase?
I think it has an adverse impact on the approvability of this project, because it's in the town's interest, it's in the interest of the zoning regulations, because we're trying to encourage the redevelopment of this property. To the extent to which it might adversely affect that approval, that's undesirable and unnecessary. It's really a separate question. It's totally separate from the merits of this development.
But the applicant, in a sense, is telling us that it would be necessary if we want citizens of the town to be able to use that road, because the applicant is interested in limiting that use significantly.
Right, that has nothing to do with this.
It has not, I mean, we don't own the road, the town, so we have no say in that. That's private property. I mean,
Well, we don't own this housing development, but we do have a say in whether or not it happens.
that's correct, but we don't own, how would you like it if we said, well, on your property, if you want to add an addition, then you have to have an easement so people can cross it to get to the other side?
I
just
wouldn't
don't
like any
no,
conditions
well,
on
I
my
know,
property,
but I'm
that's
just
why
saying.
people hate zoning.
Well, if the easement had merit with respect to this particular development, or was necessary to make this particular development compliant with the zoning regulations, or to provide some amenity to this particular development, that would be appropriate, but we determined that that's not the case. This is really a separate parcel and a separate issue, which happens to be adjoining it.
But doesn't this development pose some risk in terms of the use and enjoyment that people already are engaging in when it comes to this road, because now it's going to be
No, because this
populated?
doesn't really impact that road. I mean, people are not going onto the Arrow paving site to access the marsh or enjoy the marsh.
Well, it would seem someone has at some
Well,
point.
that's clearly trespassing, because that's an active industrial area. The area that they've used as access is this so-called Pages Lane, not the property that's used by the industrial development, which is the same property that's going to be used by this new residential development.
So will there be signage demarcating the where the marsh begins?
What begins? No. Where what begins?
The marsh.
Where the marsh, where the public property begins?
No, there's no...
The town's property isn't even mostly marsh, it's mostly high land.
I mean, you're asserting ownership in this property, right?
There's no assertion. They own it.
That's right,
We're
that's what I'm
discussing-
saying, you're asserting.
I know it's a fine line.
So you
We're
don't
just-
have to put a sign on there if it's your private property.
It's his property.
Right.
He doesn't have to put a sign.
Exactly. You don't have to put a sign on there saying no trespassing.
And that's why I'm a land use, I'm a surveyor, I'm an engineer. I can tell you what the rights exist. I can't adjudicate that. That's between the town attorney and Kevin's attorney.
Or the court if it gets that far.
I would truly hope it doesn't get that
Well,
far.
I hope it doesn't either. But we're not equipped to conduct the fact-finding and make a judgment on this anyways. The other thing I'd point out is that other easement over Sunset, that was agreed to by the owner as part of the application process.
And it's not used anyways.
Right. We've already been told that you're not going to agree to an easement here.
So
That's
Ray,
correct.
So Ray, you believe that this commission has no powers related to Pages Lane?
That's right, it's private property. We don't. I mean, if, my own opinion, for what it's worth, is that the town has an easement by necessity, if this is the only way to get to the town property. You know, it's done on the land records, but you could get that if you went to court. Apparently, there's an easement on record for the yacht club to have access to this, and that's the end of the story.
And Ray, if the town does not have an easement by necessity, then there's still absolutely no condition or regulation
No,
that
it's
the
private, I mean,
that the
unless...
Planning and Zoning Commission can impose.
Unless someone can cite some authority that we have to impose that. If we bought property without access to that property, and there is no easement and necessity granted by the court, then that's our problem. That's like anybody, if you bought a piece of property and you can't get access to it, buyer beware.
Who's the genius who did that?
Well, I don't know, but my point is that that's a separate issue, I think, from the approving this, because whether this is approved or not isn't going to impact the rights as they exist, whatever they are.
So, okay, and then educate me a little bit more. So let's say the town has access by necessity, right?
Easement by necessity.
Easement by necessity. That means that if that's the upshot of all this, then regular citizens who want to go for a walk could use that access?
No, just the town could.
Just the town?
Right, because the regular citizens don't have, who has rights to access that private property.
Right, so
The town would
What
have...
if people, regular people who wanted to go for a walk, wanted to go down Pages Lane and walk on that town-owned property? That's nothing...
It's not town-owned property, Rich.
Well, oh, right. That road. There's nothing that could grant them that.
No, I mean, it's like, can we grant access to have people walk across your property?
Right, so...
That's private property.
Right, no, you don't even say that.
Well, in the case of Sunset Storage, we did.
They agreed to it, and that was in the context of a commercial type application.
So why do you think
He agreed to it.
Why do you think they agreed to it?
I don't know why. I mean, he agreed to it.
Do you think he just said, you know what, well, you're deciding, I'm going to give you access, or do you think that they said...
And he wasn't worried about the liability, because I think he knew nobody was going to use it, since you really can't get much access there. So that's my opinion. I don't know what his real thoughts were.
So then nothing we do could give people the right to walk down
I
the road,
don't think
because it is
so.
private property.
I don't think so. That's right. No more than we could do it to your property or mine.
Right, just that one.
Town could buy the road.
My opinion. Okay. And I do think the town probably has access to that.
But only when we say the town, we mean the town trucks.
Town trucks in the town to make use of that property, not every citizen in town.
Right, got it. Okay.
That's, I mean, again, the only one who's really going to figure this out is if they negotiate a settlement or it goes to court. But that's the facts I know of.
But even if it goes to court, more than likely, the court would say, yes, the town can have access to it, meaning that they can take their trucks and go build their sewage treatment plant, not saying the town can have access to that. People who want to go for a walk quietly and peacefully, they're not going to say that.
Probably not. They're not going to expand the easement any more than is necessary for the rights of the parties to it. And the public, I mean, if that's private property, as they're asserting, and that's accurate, and that can be shown, then really, people don't have a right to walk down there.
Right.
Any more than they would across your property or mine.
Right, okay. More questions? Questions from everybody in the audience? Ken, want to jump in?
After Ted goes.
Okay, Ted?
Joe Nugent, 423 New Whitfield Street. First, a disclaimer, I'm speaking as a private citizen, not as a member of a town commission, not as a member of a neighborhood association, not as a member of an environmental group, and not as a member of a preservation group, okay?
Good.
The issue over public access down Yacht Club Road. I was here in 2007. I was part of a group that were interveners on the project with Mr. McKellen. That's when it was pointed out that, quote, the town of Guilford did not have access down Yacht Club Road. I was a surveyor 50 some odd years ago, believe it or not. And if you looked at a map, if there was a right-of-way on a map, it was spelled out. And for what purpose? For the most part. On my property, 423 Whitfield Street, there's a 10-foot pedestrian right-of-way to the wetlands. On Sunset Creek, there's a pedestrian right-of-way to the wetlands. And by the way, I go down that right-of-way, okay? Just want to let you know. That's right. Okay, so I've gone down the right-of-way. This issue on access down the Yacht Club Road came up during 2007 when Mr. McKellen had an application before this committee to expand his operation down there. He didn't like what the neighbor said, what people said, and he got real nasty about it. My wife, we've been walking dogs in the town of Guilford for 42 years. My wife walked down the road with a dog, and guess what? She was arrested because she was trespassing on private property. Now, I have a problem with this application. That right-of-way, or that portion of the driveway, is also part of this project. And I feel that the public, town of Guilford and the public, should have a right-of-way down Yacht Club Road. The town gave up their right-of-way probably about 15 years ago when the Yacht Club convinced them to give up their right to hand-launch boats. There was a clause when the Yacht Club did their development that the public would have a right to hand-launch boats. So that gave them access down Yacht Club Road. They gave that up, they swapped it, I think, they got something like $10,000 on a piece of property on Spencer's Creek. But the town gave up that right-of-way then. I don't think the town should concede the right-of-way for this property now. They should have a right-of-way down there to those 30 acres. Those 30 acres will probably not be used for a wastewater treatment plant, but it is a woodlands, it will make a park, something like that. That's what we did, we walked down there with the dogs all the time. And to correct Mr. Garcia, it's not DEEP that has the regulation over the eagle's nest, it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife. You put a posting up, it says 300 feet. And the 300-foot separation is that you don't go up to the nest, or you're within 300 feet, you don't go up and stuff like that. You still can walk by the nest. Matter of fact, the yacht club was in operation all of spring and early summer when these eagles, when the eagles were nesting and the eagles were hatched and the fledglings flew away in late June. They flew away. So nothing stopped at that time. So my issue with this project is there should be a public right-of-way across that portion of land. Mr. McKellen says he has a hard time sleeping at night because he thinks someone can get whacked on that small portion of the road. If I had 12 or 15 pieces of equipment that were in 50,000, 80,000 pound class on the road with different people driving them, I don't think I'd be concerned about someone getting whacked on a little piece of driveway. I'd be more concerned about people driving trucks up and down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're up, sir.
I'm Tom Davis. I live at 147 Boston Street. I'm an owner of a slip at the Guilford Yacht Club. I'm on the Guilford Yacht Club Unit Owner Association board. And just right off the bat, I'd like to point out that in terms of a property use adjacent to the Guilford Yacht Club, it certainly seems like a development like this is a lot nicer thing to look forward to than the business that's currently there. That said, the business that's currently there, in my opinion, going back and forth to my boat for the last 10 years, has been a really good neighbor. It's always been a very amicable relationship on that. The third point I'd like to make is discussions about use of Yacht Club Lane, Pages Lane, whatever you want to call it, to the extent that there will have to be further discussions, whether it's related to this or carries on from these discussions, we'd very much like to be sure that the Yacht Club is notified and has a place at the table for those discussions. A lot of the points brought up about the way the road is currently configured, that makes it not the greatest place for shared use by people walking or going down to see birds, and cars coming in and out and so on. It's certainly less than an ideal road. Could that change someday so it could be a better road for access to what the town may be doing on the property? Sure, but to the extent that there might be some discussions that come from this meeting tonight, I would ask, please, that the Yacht Club be notified and included in those discussions. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Ken, give it up.
Kevin McKenzie, 6 Broad Street. A couple of quick questions. Kevin, this, the egress that you want to provide for the tenants, right now, the entryway into the yacht club, there's a gate there for the paving trucks to go in.
Yep.
Is this where the gate is right here now?
It's right where your finger is.
Right here.
Right between my fingers.
And so this is the whole apron that's there now, the current apron. Where do you foresee cars entering this road for egress going out? Here. So it will be coming out onto the road.
And taking a right. Taking a right.
So I'm not on the board of the yacht club, but I am the owner of the yacht club.
Okay.
I would argue, while I agree with a lot of what you're saying with the road, you're putting this entryway right here, does create potential conflict with people driving in and out of the yacht club, in my opinion. I'm not.
Well, you drive in and out now, though, correct?
Yeah, but there are no cars. There are no cars pulling out. You're putting a driveway there now onto that road, correct?
On my road, yes.
Yeah. Well, on the road that the yacht club.
On my road.
Look, I don't care about the ownership because I know that the yacht club has access to it. So that's just one comment. Question number 2, point number 2, Tom, you mentioned the yacht club. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I think I very well may be. To Joe's point about public access to launch boats, it's my understanding that if we do certain things, like put in new piers, we have to initiate that once again. There's a clause that was there that I think is still there that stipulates if we do undertake certain actions in the future, we have to allow the public access to a boat ramp. Is that not correct?
My understanding is that original plan that included an allowance for public access, that was traded away some years ago, before I became involved in the club.
It was traded away. What Ken was talking about, he is correct. If you go into stage 3 development down there, I think you're into stage 2 now, but if you go into the 3rd development level, that's where the public right-of-way is.
Right, so I'm saying it does create a possibility where the public
That's correct.
is to be provided access to that road. Right. There is still that open window.
Yeah, and one would think any significant development down there, including town property, would require quite significant change to the road.
Agreed, but this is, I'm saying this is already on the books. It's not as if we can just write off the fact that the public is never going to be allowed access to this particular lane. It's, Page's Lane, Yacht Club Road, whatever you want to call it. I had a question for you. You mentioned, which I thought was interesting, your septic. You've got an approval for 32 bedrooms, I believe, but you're putting in 30.
Correct.
And you said that 32 was the trigger rate where DEEP got involved from a septic issue. And you alluded to the fact that it was, not alluded to, you stated that it was much more costly. And I think you said you don't want to get involved in something of that nature with DEEP. So I'm curious as to what the difference in specs are for what DEEP would require if you had 32 or 33 versus what you're putting in right here.
In theory, you could take a piece of rock, for the record, John Paul Garcia. Under a DEEP system, if you have the right dilution rates, you could literally take a bald piece of ledge and fill 5 feet of dirt, put a septic system on top of it. If you can design it correctly so you get the right infiltration rates. You can't do that with a less than 5,000 gallon per day system. That has to be a naturally occurring material. So that's one issue. The second problem I have with DEEP systems is I'm not personally and professionally a fan of large systems. When you have multi-use developments, over 5,000 gallons per day, this thing is broken up into 4 systems. There's one system for this unit, there's one system for this unit, there's one system for this unit, and there's one system for this unit. So that if there's an issue with any one of those separate systems, it doesn't impact the entire development. When you have large, DEEP systems, which we do design, over 5,000 gallons a day, a lot of times when you have an issue with the entire thing, and they become costly. I'm not a fan of large anything. I'm a fan of keep it small, keep it simple, and everybody's happy. This doesn't max out any type of infiltration into the soils. DEEP systems depend upon taking the rainwater and running it through the system to get the proper dilution rates. There's a number of things, plus the cost. It's probably $20,000 to $30,000 in 2 years. And I don't recommend it. I didn't recommend it to my client then, I don't recommend it to my client now. I think that's overkill for this particular site. If the town wants to put a DEEP system on their 30 acres, good luck and God bless them.
So how are you getting the proper dilution rate then?
Because we're doing this less than 5,000 gallons a day, we're spreading the trenches out 50 feet. Which is relatively unusual. A house system is normally 12 foot on center. These are 50 feet apart because of downgraded dilution rates. So this system it takes up probably 3 or 4 times the amount of land. If I had 4 single-family houses here, this was 4 building lots, and I had 4 single-family houses, I would have a septic system a quarter the size for those 4 houses that I have for this one unit. It's the nature of what I'm dealing with.
This line here, is this the current silt fence that's there now?
No, that's what that is the current, is the new revised flood zone 1213 delineation. The silt fence that's there now is up here someplace. It's up on top of the bank.
It's way up high.
Yeah, it's up in here someplace. Here's the tree line, see right here?
Yep.
That's where the silt fence is now.
And what John Goucher was talking about in his message,
filling right here. He's talking about putting in.
He said the grade, and one of his comments was the grade was steep or not steep enough, and he was worried about.
No, shallow enough. I have this at 1 on 2. John wants it 1 on 4, 1 on 5, because he's worried about tidal wave velocity areas. I'm not necessarily in agreement with it, but if that's what he wants, we'll put some more fill in here. I kept this tight. He wants it to spread out a little bit farther.
And he mentioned another spot with a different grade that he was worried about. He basically said, don't come back to me later on.
That's this area.
No, there were 2. I think it's
just this one area here.
Okay.
That's. It's item number 1, the second paragraph, and he's talking about this one particular area here. I show this as a 2-on-1 slope, and he wants it at 4 to 5 to 1. He wants it a little shallower. What he's worried about is that 25 years from now, the fragmites are gone, they no longer provide protection from wave action to this area, and we start to get erosion, and now you have to go in with hard surface, riprap, something like that, to protect the foundation. He does not want that happening. That's why he wants a shallower slope.
And then the only other comment I had, well, a couple of other comments. One, the bald eagle nest. My understanding is that construction cannot take place within, or it's suggested by DEEP that construction not take place within 660 feet of a bald eagle nest. I think you're...
There's no issue.
I think you're close, but whatever.
There's no issue.
Why do you say that?
Because we sent in a...
Because you're outside that 660
Yeah, they have no issues with this.
Okay.
You don't have...
I didn't hear him.
I haven't seen a copy though. I saw the request form, but I haven't seen the return letter from the agency yet on that.
I don't think you're outside 660 feet myself, but I could be wrong. But it's just a suggestion, it's not a law.
We just built a school 85 feet from the nest up in East Hardwick.
Just saying, it's the only bald eagle we have in town. And then the other thing I just learned tonight that this is rental units. I've been told or led to believe that these were going to be sort of high-end condominiums, or maybe they're high-end rental units. I'm not sure I agree with George's comments that this is, what were your words, George? This was in the best interest of the town, and it was, basically pushing this on the town. I know that the town south is your baby and your plan. And I agree that this is, and I'm all for Kevin making a business out of this and making money. I don't know that, in fact, not only do I actually think I do know, I think if you actually did an economic analysis of this, that this is going to cost the town more in taxpayer revenue, taxpayer expenditures than we're going to take in revenue on something like this, although nobody has, and I've asked for these numbers before, but nobody has ever presented me with data indicating that this is an add to the town. I don't think it's your purview to grant something though based on the economic merits of the town. But George is pushing it, making it sound like this is in the best interest of the town.
So he introduced
there's some
what
other
kind of things would you use as part of that equation? Like, why do you think that it wouldn't be?
I'm not saying it's not necessarily. What I'm saying is, to me, perhaps it's the intensity. Look, I think it's aero paving, it's an industrial zone. I don't know that just taking the industrial zones and ramming an overlay district on it, which nobody, frankly, in town was really aware was happening until after it had happened. But you've taken an industrial zone and made it okay for this dual purpose. I do think it's an eyesore what's there now, so this is a good thing. It's really intensity of use. So, would it be better? My tastes aren't your tastes, aren't anybody else's tastes in this room. And getting people to agree on any one issue is next to impossible. All I'm doing is I'm trying to point out some of the concerns that I have in looking at it. It's a flood zone. If you look at the plan of conservation and development, if you look at all the data on rising sea levels, personally I don't understand why anybody would build residential housing here, where the Lumar site is, where the 66 High Street site is. I don't really get it. But if we're going to pay for services in floods and people are going to pay, I hope as a taxpayer I'm not subsidizing the flood insurance that is required for some of these facilities. I think that phases out in another year or two. But to me the wisdom isn't sound to begin with, but again, that's not really, I don't think it's your job to do that. You have to look at the merits of the application. I appreciate that. But so from my perspective, what I do see, I see septic, I see some traffic issues. I see it's a wetlands. I like the idea of something like this over what is there now. Maybe something, it sounded to me initially like it was going to be a little bit less intense and a little bit higher end, which meant economically it would be a better fit for the town's current budget, if you will, and everybody's budget in the world right now. And that's really...
Actually, I have a question for the landowner.
Thanks, Ken.
Kevin, one of the things that I've recently been a part of in Guilford here is low-income housing development. And I was wondering if, since these are turning into rental property, there are lots of grants and a lot of things in from the state and federal government that I think George actually knows a lot of that. If you were interested in doing that, going down that road at all?
I've never taken a look at that avenue. I did ask town staff at one time, and I think this was in 07, 08, when I was talking about converting it then, if I had septic capabilities. I did not know at the time.
Yeah.
And somebody had told me Guilford was at the max. I'd laid it to bed. That was it. Of the low-income housing. I'm sure that I know somebody that said it.
We're so not.
I
What
was that, George?
Yeah, I was told that. I mean, I wouldn't have pulled that up because I would have pulled the trigger in 08.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if George Sproul has any further information on that.
I'm not ruling that out. But, no.
Oh, I thought,
Okay.
never mind.
Anybody else? Sir?
One further comment. Joe Doju, 423 Whitfield Street. Find it rather odd that Mr. McKellen is so reluctant to allow Town of Guilford right away across that property. So I assume if this development goes through, he's going to post signs on his property that all the rent holders will not be allowed to walk out on that road and go left. Their only way to get out of that complex will be to go right. Is that correct?
I don't know that we can make him do that.
Well, if he wants to be within the terms of the law, because we were informed by Guilford Police, people that used to walk down that road after McKellen became a little upset, Guilford Police said the only ones that have access down that road legally is the yacht club members and their guests, period.
And it's private property.
That's correct.
And that's probably the law. I probably owe you an apology. I've been down that street myself a couple of times.
Many people have. I know a lot of people, and not only do they walk down it, they ride bicycles down there, you know. There hasn't been an issue, but there are some people, if you go down, you're going to be arrested.
Yep. So I'm sorry. I didn't know it was a private road when I went down it. I drove my motorcycle down it. It was quiet.
Had to scratch marks on the pedals.
Yeah, that was good. I did it.
All the paint was you. Mr. Chairman, I think it would be in order to close the public hearing at this time.
All right, anyone else, last comments, last bit of input? We're all set? All right, may I get a motion to close public?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. We are only up to, oh my goodness, it's 10 o'clock. All right, may I get a motion to approve the revised agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Okay, so let's get down to business. We have Mr. Joe Leone and his Planet A bins. What do we think, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion.
Yep.
And that motion would be to approve. If I had the motion before me. I thought I had. Okay, here it is. I did have a motion. Okay. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve. No, this isn't right. I'm sorry. There's multiple motions here, right? I know. I had it. I had the one from Maritime.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit application for Joe Leone to locate a clothing donation box at the Little Store, 2802 Durham Road, map 109, lot 9, as shown on application, dated 10/14/14. There are no conditions. This application is approved based upon a finding that the proposed activity will have no adverse impact on the surrounding residential area. The special permit is effective on January 30th, 2015, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Second.
So let's discuss it.
We got to discuss one.
What do you guys think?
I think he went before design review.
Yeah.
And I think that the boxes that he showed us the pictures of last time that were stylish compared to some of the boxes we've seen in the past are great. And if he's going to be operating like this, I think it's a great thing. So I'm for it. I'm ready to move on with it. That's my opinion.
Anyone else have a different opinion?
Now, this is just for the public hearing, actually.
This is right.
The site plan.
This is not the other two boxes.
This is
Just a Little Store.
Durham Road
Yeah,
box.
just as on the Durham Road box, yes.
The Durham Road box is of the least concern for me. It was a little bit concerning for me. Looks like at the last hearing, the applicant referred to more than 80% of, while requesting a fee waiver, the applicant mentioned a statistic that 84% of the revenue was going to educational purposes. It would seem that that is not correct. It would seem that according to the Form 990, that this nonprofit produces, that a very large percentage of that goes to so-called recycling, which is obviously not an educational purpose, and that also may be technically a nonprofit purpose, but it's concerning because I don't exactly know how many facts we can really hang our hat on this application, since the basic nonprofit purpose wasn't fully represented to us.
Well, I think we were told that a certain percentage of the monies go to, they kick back to the property owner a certain percentage of the sales of the material. I read up on your company, and I was a little bit surprised to see the high percentage that doesn't go to charity. It was over 70% does not go back to charity. It goes to operational expenses. But that's really not a zoning issue. For me, the zoning issue impact is that these bins are bright yellow and they have big black type across them that say whatever they say. And they look kind of, I don't know.
Go ahead and say it.
I don't want to say it, but they don't look great. They look kind of bad. And
well, you can spot them for sure.
Yeah, you can spot them a mile away, But, I've gone up that road going towards the lake, and I got to tell you, it's one of the most beautiful roads in Guilford. I drive past that little store, and it looks like a little country store. And then to see a big yellow bin that has all this bright type all over it kind of detracts from it. I don't know that I'm not feeling it that much. You expressed an interest. What do you think, Tom?
I don't have a problem with the one in North Guilford.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, I'm there a lot, and I can't tell you that I've ever heard anybody complaining about it being there.
Okay.
I don't know how much it's used.
Well, he probably has the pounds per week, and the guy at the little store probably gets a percentage of that. But
we like bright colors in North Guilford.
I know.
We like bright colors.
For the holidays.
That's not true
We like
at all.
blue Christmas lights.
I think it sounds like I'm very close to Tom's opinion then on this, because the one in North Guilford is not really of concern to me, and the ones on Route 1, we'll get to those later on.
Okay.
And my concerns.
I don't feel strong enough that, it's the end of the world. Obviously, that's why we vote. Ray, what do you think?
I don't really have a problem with it.
Okay.
I mean,
Richard?
I drove by last month trying to look for something that was going to jump out at me, and it didn't. It's, to use a character.
Beautiful. George?
I think they're a little bit unsightly. I mean, the coloring it on and so forth. I don't know enough about this company. Apparently, you've done some research on it.
Well, only since he brought up in the initial conversation, I felt
on the fee waiver issue. Yeah.
Well, that I guess is a separate issue, isn't it?
Yes, and that's been handled, but the information we received didn't entirely jive with.
What is the gross revenues of this company? Do you know, sir?
I don't know offhand.
You don't know what they are?
It's a nonprofit organization, it's a registered.
Well, then you filed a 501c3?
Yeah,
do you have that?
Absolutely.
Do you have that with you, sir?
I don't have with me, but it's available.
Okay, I just didn't do enough research on it. I just question the objective of...
You can look up the tax return form online.
Did you say that you had it 990? 990?
990, right?
Yeah, 990 for the call.
990?
Yeah, he's got a 990 on it, I think. That's a tax return.
Yeah, I can
No, the 501c3 related document.
Yeah.
Correct? The 990?
So,
Sorry, say that again.
That's all right.
I have no vote tonight, so he's
That's right.
he's ahead of the game.
But your input is taken.
But I would not approve it if I had a vote.
All right, so I don't know that anyone feels terribly about this. Any more discussion? Let's just kill it.
I would request that the that the mover and seconder put a time condition on it to see how the new box and the new location go, of say 2 years.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
It's all right with me.
Sure.
All right, so why don't we call the vote? All those in favor? Carried. I didn't see who, did you see who voted?
No,
Everyone
yeah,
voted.
we do.
Roll call?
The ayes.
Do you want to say the names of everybody and do the roll call? So
Well,
that you can-
everyone is voting yes but me.
Rich is voting no.
I'm
Did
voting
Ray
no.
vote in favor?
I voted in favor,
Oh,
yes.
So everyone voted yes, but me.
Rich.
And,
No, I voted yes.
okay, and I'm opposed. So, but motion carries.
Zoning code or Roche? Which one is the next one, the zoning code? Zoning code, okay.
Okay, so
Okay, I'll make a motion. Proposed motion, voted the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve an amendment to the zoning code, which is detailed in a letter. I won't read the whole thing, which was detailed in a letter.
no, let's read the whole thing.
Letter
Forwarded by the Economic Development.
Yeah, Stephen did a nice job writing that letter, so. Where is he? He's not here for his own letter. He's tired. He's
So this amendment is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the planning, with the plan of conservation and development. The amendment is effective on January 30th, 2015.
Okay. So let's discuss this.
You got a second?
Oh, yeah, all right, so 1 second.
I'll second.
Okay. So let's discuss this.
I'll start off by saying, I understand where Steve's coming from, and I did, the one meeting that we had recently on zoning, the zoning committee with Walter, this was discussed, ad nauseum, and Reggie and
Yes, it
everyone,
was.
and everyone really weighed in on it, and I do see a need for this in the town, something like this.
But
I really, and I don't know, Ray, how close of a look Ray took at the language of this, or George. I just don't know if this is what, how a regulation should look in our code.
it seems kind of ambiguous in many ways.
Well, not necessarily the precise terms. I'm just concerned that if we're going to adopt this exactly, I just don't know if it conforms with our form of, regulations that we
Most of
currently
this
have.
is the existing regulation
Okay.
with some language inserted into it.
That's all that it is?
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to figure out from Steve where he got the language from.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
would have
No,
been-
no,
Okay, so this language right here is what would fit into our code as it is right now with no, it wouldn't read awkwardly or,
The only difference is the outdoor display would be the first weekend, first full weekend of every month from April until the end of October, and holiday weekends from November until just the end of December. That's the difference really that they put in there. Everything else was there.
okay.
Okay. Walter, you had some sort of concerns about feeling okay about it, and then we talked briefly about a shorter period than 1 year. What are your thoughts?
Well, the word "abut" is still problematic for me because that doesn't work for a lot of the shopping plazas along Route 1. And there are just so few retail stores that will be that would be helped by this and will also avail themselves of it. And the ones that do, I'm pretty sure that they won't do it in the way that we expect because this is an incredibly open-ended and ambiguous reg, all the way from A through J.
So how do you want to deal with that?
Well, I would ask for an amendment to letter C, that the display must be immediately contiguous to the building structure, which means it would have to be touching it. And and I think that rather than describing it as one display item, I think that it should be one item. So the size shall be limited to one item. And under letter B, I'd recommend the removal of just the word display. And under letter C, I would delete the word abut and insert the words contiguous to.
Okay. What does that change if we take the word display out? How does that change anything?
It means that it's a single item and we've eliminated the ambiguity about 50 of the same item.
Yeah, but, so in Frank's example where he wanted to put bags of coffee outside, are you saying he can only put out one bag of coffee?
It would really be an item to bring people in, like a mannequin.
So like a
It'd be
bag of coffee
functionally-
with a balloon hanging off of it.
Right. Or the balloon guy with the fan underneath. The thing, that would be motorized, so that wouldn't be allowed.
Right, and that's not an item for sale.
Let's just, for example, let's just say you had a liquor store and you wanted to put a big inflatable bottle of vodka. All you'd have to do under this regulation is sell that inflatable unit in your store, and you could put that out front.
You're right. That's right. If you
We
want
haven't
that
even
for sale.
begun to review all
I mean, I just think it's a
possible
real
ways.
slippery slope for...
You're absolutely right.
It's not a slope that we would be slipping down. We would already be at the bottom of the slope. We would be in the ravine. So the moment we approve this, we're not sliding down.
So we already have 98% of this is already in the regulations.
Well, that's what Reddy was saying.
This is just an extension time period.
So the whole thing is already a slippery slope because it's already in the regulation.
Well, currently, we only seem to have the problem with sandwich board signs out on Route 1. In real life, from a practical standpoint, the crowding of Route 1 is really mostly confined to sandwich boards. And we seem to have accepted that, or some people have accepted that. We used to have a pretty clear reg when it came to those things. And we don't now. But the display items, I think that they pose a lot more risk than gain, and I don't think we have seen a calculation on it.
I also think that, from what I understand, when people have come forward and asked for these, special permits to be issued, that they haven't been denied, they've been given.
Yeah.
And that, if someone is actually very interested in doing these types of displays, if they came forward and explained what specifically they were going to be doing, I don't think the process is that egregious.
Yeah, I mean, I made the motion on the Ella mannequin that we've been talking about and had no problem with it. It was specific, it was...
Is it a special permit or a variance?
First, they had to get a variance, and then they had a special permit.
So I mean,
They're in the residential zone.
I mean, it's not a small item for a small business to go through. First of all, variance is only supposed to be granted by legal hardship. It's not an automatic slam dunk. And then after you pay the fee and you go through all that, you have to come in and get a special permit. To me, for a small business, that's a lot of work that needs to be done. Sometimes you need to hire a professional to help you do that. So people just say, I'm not going to do it. I mean, I've been on the commission, since 2001, and a lot of perceived problems and issues that people bring up as to why we shouldn't do things, in a lot of cases don't come to fruition when the regulations actually pass. In this case, we haven't discussed the time frame yet, but at least you have a year. If there are problems that developed in that 1 year period, you have a chance to call this back, or have actual data and facts as to where it is being abused, or where changes can be made to improve it to then fix the regulation the following year. And I have no problem, if someone comes to say, well, you're changing something that we were already allowed to do. If there's abuse of it, and if it's not in keeping with the standards that the town wants to enforce, I have no problem changing it after a year. But to speculate on what might and might not happen about this now, especially since most of this is already in the existing regulations, it just doesn't seem right to me. I would like to see it tested. If we have a problem with the year, maybe it can be shortened to a reasonable time period, like one season from, now until the end of October or something like that, and then we can come back and revisit it if there's been abuse or problems that have arisen because of it. But I do think it will help businesses. When I remember when the sandwich boards issue came up, a lot of the people who came in to speak were literally pleading for that. It was at the time of the last downturn, and they were pleading to get the advertising out there to try to draw people in. I know owners of businesses who say that when they do put a mannequin or something out, it does draw people in, it draws attention. So,
And that should be an important part of our analysis.
I think so. We're trying to help business. And this, in the context of what this is trying to do, yes, I think it should be. That's why the Economic Development Commission, I mean, I think it does a bunch of empty stores because people go out of business and they can't attract a business in here. I don't think that's good for anybody. I agree with you, though, that we can't let it get out of hand and turn into a free-for-all.
So, okay, along those lines, I had not thought about it till you were just saying this, but you know how sometimes your mind is moving along. And I was thinking about Bishop's Orchards has decided to put a very large pile of wood for fireplaces right towards the front of their parking lot. And it's kind of this kind of thing, where they're advertising that they have it. And I don't know how that looks. Like, I'm drove by and I was like, wow, they got wood. I didn't know that. And then I drove by and said, wow, it's a nasty looking pile of wood they got there. So, I kind of agree that we all worry about the worst is going to happen. And in this case, Phil's point is well taken, that a liquor store could sell 8-foot inflatable liquor-shaped balloons and then say, all right, I'm going to put one of those out. And, we all know that it's really advertising, but they're selling it so they fit the letter of this law. But we always worry about the worst happening, and I don't know that the worst always happens.
Well, I don't know. I always go in favor of the property owner, and, I think the property owners and applicants have rights to try to promote their business. And sometimes I think that might override my personal preferences for what I think they should do. So.
That is the wrestling point, is we try to take ourselves out of it, but we have to put ourselves into it too.
That's right. I mean, they do own the business, they do own the property, they are the applicant, they have rights too. And in some cases, I don't think we should necessarily substitute our judgment for what theirs is. Now, I agree.
That's one side of the sword. The other side of the sword is, this is Guilford. We protect the rights of the people to make sure it continues to look beautiful. That's really one of the functions of us.
Yeah, you're right, and that's why we've limited it to what we have here and not let it become a free-for-all. So I think these are reasonable regulations to try to regulate the process so it doesn't get out of hand. Whether I'm right or not, I don't know, but the fact is that we do have a time limit on this, and if we do start to see problems, then it's easy enough to call this back and modify it.
Do we have a size limit on the dimensions of the item?
It's just that they have to keep a 36-inch sidewalk width.
So what would be the maximum size that the item could be?
Depends on how wide your sidewalk was.
Yeah.
How wide, how long your building front is, how wide?
10-foot sidewalk, you have a pretty big item.
Reggie, what are your thoughts generally?
I feel good about it because it's going to be for 1 year.
Okay.
And it's enforceable because we're choosing the first full weekend of every month. So it's not like it's going to be out 24/7. It's just the first weekend of every month, and then the holiday weekends from November until the end of the Christmas holiday season. And it starts in April, so you're not going to see anything January, February, or March.
Right, we'll see it when most of the visitors come to our town.
I'd like to amend my original motion with Richard's approval, I guess, on the second. First, I don't think I included a year limitation, and I would like to include it if it's not
It's
in
in
this.
there.
Okay.
Right? Is it 1 year?
I don't think it is. So I'd like to include a year limitation, and also, for the purpose of the secretary, I'll give her Walter's copy, but approve the term changes that Walter suggested.
Which is one item, remove display.
And then contiguous to as opposed to a button.
Maybe, I think maybe Josh only wants letter C. Hold on.
Yeah, well, I just don't understand, Walter, I don't understand what's the purpose of removing the word display?
So,
It makes it only one, instead of one type of item, it's a single item.
so you're saying if, for example, there was a store that had those swimming things that you were talking, I don't know.
Yeah, the noodles.
The noodles.
You could only have one noodle out?
Well, I think that, Reggie, you're the one that would be enforcing this, and right now, the way it says one display item, if we change that to just one item, are you going to now go to Richard's store and say...
Yeah, because you're only saying one item.
Okay, but if we say one display item, are you going to go to Richard's store and say, you have the whole box of noodles out, bring them in?
Poor Richard.
The way, if you leave one display item, if you just say one item,
Yeah.
then it's only one item
Okay.
that they can have out.
Okay.
So Richard can only have out one noodle,
The display item is,
even if it
That's
comes
what
in
she's
3
saying.
colors.
Okay.
so what if you have type of? Is that closer to what Steve was actually looking for?
What
'Cause
Steve
you've got-
had in mind was a mannequin.
Yeah.
That would make me
What he had in
nervous.
mind.
Okay.
What he had in mind was a place that sells grills, they have one grill out.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the B in, and I'm gonna change, so I'll make a oral modification. Letter C shall read, "The display must immediately be contiguous to the building structure."
Be immediately contiguous to.
The display must be immediately contiguous to the building structure. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move, that's my motion.
And how about, are you leaving the display in?
Yeah, the display word is going to be removed.
Richard, you okay with all this? You seconded it.
Well, it's a start.
Well, are
So you're approving
Are
his
you going to
changes?
re-second it?
The thing about one piece out there.
No, I changed the word to, I got rid of, that's not what it is, one display item. So the only thing that I changed was I put a year limitation and I changed the word abut basically to continue.
Anything I put out has to be up against, it just a common sense ADA regulations.
That's all it is. So that's.
It's public safety.
Okay, and are we all okay with 1 year? Are we okay with a half a year?
I'll go with the year. Let's see it right through to the...
I think in view of the fact that it's only, how many times?
It's only once a month from April until the end of October, and then holiday weekends.
So 1 year.
I'd say 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
So is that Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, or is it just Saturday and Sunday, or what is that?
The weekend.
is Saturday.
Specify Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The
It's in here.
Friday? So it's 3 days, it's not a weekend.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's 3 days.
It's in here.
Yeah, it's in here. It's in parentheses, Friday,
Clarity on what we're doing.
So we're talking about a year, we're talking about 3 days every month, Friday, Saturday, and
Once a
Sunday.
month.
And that's in addition to
1 weekend a month.
1 weekend a month. So half the weekends of the year, they'll have stuff outside.
And sidewalk sale.
Well, from April until, it starts in April, it goes until
So we're all okay with
6 months.
For that 6 months, half the weekends they'll have.
Yeah, so a third, I guess, of the weekends of the year.
Correct.
Because it'll be one display item.
Noodles.
It won't be 8 boxes with different things.
Right.
I'd like to call the question.
All right. You all set? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Are there any opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations, Steve. Good work. A lot of hard work went into that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Steve, I want to reiterate for the record that I actually voted for that. I see you at
All right.
the
So,
next DTC meeting. I want you to bring that up.
Oceanco. Who wants to?
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal area management site plan for the Oceanic LLC, Jeffrey Vernon at Ocean, oh, you sure you got me going on Ocean.
I'm sorry.
Ocean Co., and it's so plain. Ocean Co., LLC, Jeffrey Vernon at 485 Whitfield Street,
What
map
does it say?
29, lot 108. As shown on an application dated 12/16/14 and as heard as a public hearing on January 21st, 2015. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code and it is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Anyone want a second? Okay. So is it in keeping with the policies of the, it is?
Well, it seemed to me that DEP might come back to them at some point to have a further discussion with them, but in terms of what Kevin is saying.
But we don't have jurisdiction over
Yeah,
it.
that's not, so what I'm saying is, in terms of what Kevin has to say, I think that we've got no
What
comment.
exactly do we have jurisdiction over? It's from the top of the,
We have technical from high tide inward.
Right.
And they have from coastal jurisdiction line outward, so we have this margin of shared jurisdiction. I made a note in my letter that we approved, so the property owner doesn't think he's all set to go, that we approved from the coastal jurisdiction line up to make sure he gets his paperwork from the state done.
so, and to the extent he has some of these pilings in the coastal, the DEP has to approve that.
Correct.
So we only approve the ones that are from the CJL.
Correct.
And they, so conceivably, we could approve it and they could disapprove it, or they could approve it and we could disapprove
Correct,
it.
that's why I
He's got a
said we
problem.
do the midpoint, because if we approve all of it, they can disapprove their section of it.
Right.
What else do we have on this?
There was no public comment.
No, there wasn't.
Even though.
So then when I look at the diagram here, just so we're clear, to the extent there are pilings under the existing garage, and you see the CJL line, wherever that line happens to go.
Under the garage.
Yeah, the ones this side of it we have, the ones that side of it the state has, which,
And you know what, this is a classic example of what we're talking about coastal resilience, where, you know, in the next couple of years, certainly within 10 years, this is going to be, he's going to be having some issues again. So, but this is before us right now. What else do we have? Anything else?
If we only have jurisdiction over the mean high water and above, is that right?
We have from the mean high water and above, they have from basically the highest tide of the year down. But they, through regulations, they set a number on that, which is elevation 4, NGVD, or NGVD elevation 5.
So since they quantify it and we don't, it's possible there could be a gap where nobody has jurisdiction?
No, we have overlapping gaps, there's no,
Overlap.
there's overlap, there's no gap in terms of,
I got you.
so there's overlapping gap between the two. So they, like, look at docks and stuff like that, we can say no and they say yes.
But shouldn't we wait for deep?
We cannot rely on somebody else. We can give our approval, but they can't technically do their work until they also get deep, and vice versa. They can't work, they get approval from deep, they can't work until they get approval from us. We can't hold up our application for somebody else's approval.
Now, will we be affecting Deep's opinion in any way by approving this?
No. No, Deep's pretty much, talking with John Goucher, and I haven't talked to Krista, but his conversations there, so like, we just need, everybody, the applicant needs to get their paperwork with all the agencies. In the existing building, so there isn't really an issue. It's just a matter, he's got to get the paperwork with all the agencies to get himself back on a level.
Good.
Have we ever made it contingent upon deep?
No.
No, we can't.
That's not-
Legally, we can't.
Understood.
Can I ask a question? What is Mr. Vernon's interest in the property?
I think he lives
Property
there.
manager.
Oh, I guess I'm wrong.
So who's the owner?
What is this
The owner
place?
is Rockford Institute.
Oh.
That's the LLC. The LLC is actually the
Ocean
owner,
Co.
but he must be the representative of the
This is
property.
not the little
Kind of what the
house
letter
that's next to
doesn't
the.
seem to express any of that.
What
Hey,
company is
neighbor.
this? Is this the run?
It's the house
This
next
is
to
the
the
your stove property?
So they own that?
Yep.
Ocean Co. owns a lot.
Who is Ocean Co?
It's an LLC.
And is that house occupied by a resident?
I don't know if it's occupied.
He parks his car there. And they said that, his car, yeah, I don't think they.
Oh, so that's probably maybe the property manager's house.
Deciding on
I know, I'm just,
the issue.
I understand. Okay.
And incidentally, just so that you all know, DEP has their own enforcement mechanisms.
I don't ever want to
So,
find out what they are.
You don't want to know, Kevin.
No, I don't want to. Okay. Any other questions? This is pretty much beat up.
Pete said.
All right, so let's call the question. Is everyone in favor of, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, so it carries unanimously. Okay. I don't know, you want to read this one?
Well, I'll read the motion if you want me to.
Yeah.
All right, proposed motion, McClellan. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit site plan and coastal area management site plan for Kevin McClellan, 405 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 5, and 8A for a 15-unit townhouse development as shown on the following. Proposed site development plan for McClellan Guilford LLC, 12 sheets prepared by John Paul Garcia and Associates, dated 2/4/14, revised 1/21/15. A residential design proposal for the Guilford Town Center South District, 11 sheets by John Paul Garcia, Lawrence Appleton, and Elm City Architects, dated 12/17/14. Landscape plan, McClellan Guilford, prepared by Lawrence Appleton, dated December 21, 2014. This application is approved with the following conditions. That prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant review final plans with the design review committee. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code with the town center South District special permit requirements. The application is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut. The specific permit is effective on January 30th, 2014, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Kevin had a bunch of conditions.
Oh, boy.
You don't have to read them.
You could just reference his letter of such and such conditions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. it might be.
Yeah, that's already.
You copied that letter?
Yeah.
You've seen that letter.
I will reference the letter from Kevin McGee dated January 21st, 2015, and his conditions therein.
What about Mr. Goucher? Didn't he have some change?
I think that Kevin had, yeah, Kevin.
These are part of my,
Yeah,
these are point number 1 of the conditions.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's my motion.
Second.
Okay,
Okay,
have some discussion.
open it up, gentlemen. What do you got?
Well, I guess I'll start. I think that, quite frankly, this fits in perfectly with the Town Center South plan that I know someone made a comment that a lot of people in town weren't aware of what was going on there with the overlay. That planning had many, I didn't attend a lot of them, but they had plenty of meetings.
You wish you had.
About this plan before it was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, in 2008? When was it approved? Town Center South, when was that approved originally?
It was
Last year.
last year, but it was an Board of
It was
Selectmen.
in 2013. I had just shown up.
Yes,
So-
2015. So there was a lot of...
No, this dropped in my lap in our very first meeting I was ever in. That and the light up billboards. It was fun.
Yeah, so, I didn't agree with everything about the Town Center South plan, but I think the effort to make it easier for people that want to commute and may not work in this town, having appropriate housing for them and services fits nicely into the community, and it is sure a step up from, I don't denigrate anybody's business, but in terms of visuals and the gateway to the yacht club and to all of everything down there, this is a vast improvement.
I agree. What else?
I really want this to happen, even though it's increasing density south of the train tracks, which I'm wary of. It's a modern complex. I think it'll add a lot, even though it may. I know that the economic development concern that that Ken brought up about what he was mostly referring to, I think, was the density of school-age children that is possible on this property based on the property tax that they might pay. As most of us know, the number of students in this town is dropping like a stone.
Yep. That's why we built a new school.
That's why we built a new school, exactly.
Bigger than the old one.
Right.
Good.
Got it.
Good.
Each student will have their own room.
But I'm a really big fan of this this change because the industrial use, you know, I understand that it's grandfathered and it used to be out of town. And nowadays it's not out of town, nowadays it's in town. And I think that this will pay nicely for the property owner, and I can see why the property owner was not willing to pull the trigger before and is willing to pull the trigger now. The thing is, I'm really sympathetic to the easement issue in general. I just think that ultimately, if you have the town going to town property and yacht club members and guests going to yacht club member and guest property, and you know there are factors that may make it public in the future, I'm just not sure. I heard Ray say that we really don't have the power to do that, and I agree that we don't have the power to simply grant an easement per se. But I'm still not absolutely certain that we don't have the power to bring some kind of condition to bear. I didn't hear anyone from town staff say that, so that condition would be forbidden.
Well, we know that the applicant has already said he won't agree to that.
Well, I mean, the applicant, I mean, that's always a question, you know, whether or not that condition is just too much for an applicant to bear, and you know, that can result in litigation, but it looks like the lawyers are going to work it out anyway. So, you know, there it is. I'm just not sure whether or not we actually have the necessary powers to assist the town in allowing the public access to town property that they probably should be able to enjoy, or if there's another more appropriate path that the town could provide.
I agree with Walter in terms of not knowing the power that we have to do such a easement. I certainly agree that we don't have the power to grant an easement. And I don't think that it's necessary to determine, you know, it's not, I don't think it's necessary for us to hold hostage a project to determine, you know, this condition when it's going to be resolved, whether we resolve it or we don't resolve it. At some point, there's going to be a resolution. And I think that this is an interesting, you know, idea. I think that it is an upgrade in aesthetics for the area, and I know that Guilford is looking for low-income housing developments, and
this won't be very low.
Well, I mean, there certainly are grants.
As you know.
Yeah, but there are grants that can subsidize some of the building.
We don't know that.
And the location of it is good proximity to the town center and good proximity to transportation. And that's something that the town is looking for.
And we're really trying to connect the green down through past the stone house.
Yeah, so
and that's tricky for us.
And this is something that the town is looking for. I think that George is right on saying that this is in line with the town's plan, and it's a good thing for the town.
Right on. Richard?
I will echo that. I finally have seen something to come with Town Center South. This will be a real tangible example of the work that went into it. And it wasn't a very quick process either.
No, it never is. It takes forever.
Town Center South took years of study and years of participation by dedicated citizens. And yes, I agree with what Josh said. We're not going to hold up this project over, or ransom the project over something that is or isn't in our purview.
Right, I think you're right. I think, you know, if we were to think about that, we're kind of like trying to clean up whoever gave away those rights 15 years ago. That wasn't very forward thinking. So that is not within our, I can't see us doing that. It's not right of us to do, nor legal for us to do. George?
I think it's a good thing for the town overall. No, all things considered, it's the right way to go.
Good. Frank?
I agree.
Bill?
I think it's a big improvement for the area. I think that granting an easement would not be a hardship on the applicant.
But he said he's not willing to do it.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's a hardship. I mean, the fact of the matter is, there's all kinds of traffic going down to the yacht club, whether it be weddings, guests, all the rest of it, all the time. And you can't control how people are getting there, whether they're walking there or taking their bikes or taking cars.
It's true.
And that, you know, clearly the easement on Sunset Creek is just down to the marsh. It's not down to the town property. I think it would make a much, much easier decision if in fact that were granted, but, you know, obviously the applicant has the right to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I would like, you know, to see that issue resolved, because right now there's no impetus for the town to bring it up, for the yacht club to bring it up, or the applicant to bring it up. So it's going to remain in limbo, and people could potentially be arrested for walking on the property.
I don't know that anyone's serving hard time.
No, I'm just saying, but I mean, as you said, you know, police come up and knock on your door and they arrest you. That's not something you're looking forward to.
Well, I think that as
not that you're convicted.
I think as a commission, we can caution the applicant that, you know, since he is aware of this legal dispute that's going on, and
But there's not a legal dispute.
No, well, this potential legal dispute that's going on, and this confusion of the citizens, for him to be aware of that and be sympathetic of that, and we could just caution him and to not, you know, call the police on random people, on people on a regular basis.
Well,
We don't need to, we're not going to demanding of them. We could just caution them of that, and we could say that that's not necessarily the nicest thing in the world to do.
The way that we do that, though, is we include a condition that says that a condition of approval is that the applicant shall allow public public passage along Pages Lane.
Can't do it.
And then, are you sure?
Yeah, I am sure.
Even I'm sure.
Private property. That's like me saying, okay, I want people to go walk across your front yard of your house, whether you like it or not. The same thing.
Get a friend with a boat.
Yes.
Someday I'm going to make a list of the things that you've been sure of on this commission.
That's good. I hope you do.
And it'll be
Let's distract you from other stuff.
Let's hear from Ray.
This has been a problematic piece of property for a long time.
Yes, it has.
And I don't think anybody in their right mind here would approve a I-1 zone for this property if it came to us today with a zone change. So I'm sensitive to what Mr. McKenzie said about, you know, is this exactly the type of development that we would want in Guilford on this piece of land? Personally, no. I would like to see something, you know, higher class or maybe less dense. However, given what we've got there, this is a vast improvement over what's there. Is it exactly what I would want? No, but it gets me a lot further to where I would want to be than we are today. So I'm all for it. With regard to the easement area, I am concerned about what some of the neighbors said with regard to, it seems like selective enforcement, that the police were called on certain people and not on others. However, that's really a private matter, and if there was a condition that we could attach to it, I'd be more than willing to do that. I just don't see how we can force a private owner of private property to grant an easement to whomever we tell them we want it granted to, and hold him hostage to approval of his application. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. I also would agree, though, there's probably no impetus to really get the situation changed. I mean, there's nothing we can do to force the issue unless the yacht club, the town, the owner, or somebody in the public were to, sue for the right to get that. So there's probably not a lot we can do, and it's probably going to just continue on until such a time as somebody needs to get access or something changes, phase 3, or the town decides to develop a park in that property or something else, at which time I think it will probably get settled. I mean, as a condition, maybe the furthest I could see going is to say that we would like to have the applicant attorney meet with the town attorney to discuss the matter and see if it can be resolved. But to go beyond that...
That's saying nothing.
Yeah, to go beyond that, I don't see how you can do it.
That's absolutely saying nothing.
And they've already said they're going to try to do that, so... and it's a main long story short, I'm for it.
Okay, and my only input on it is, we talk about eminent domain as being a terrible thing, and it is, and this is kind of a town saying we want to use your right-of-way for people to walk on. It's borderline doing that. I can't see how we would even think to do that. You know, it's his property and he has a right to do it, and I'm sorry I went on your property. The only thing I would say is that the way that this is set up, parking is going to be an issue. You know, I think there are 5 spaces or 6 spaces that are spare. The 9. So I guess, you know, on Thanksgiving when parents or kids come over, there's really not going to be any parking. They're probably going to end up parking out on Woodfield Street. And, you know, for 1 or 2 days a year, it's probably not going to be a crisis. I can see that you have 1-car garages and then you're probably giving the second space in front of that garage. So people are going to be shuffling their cars forever trying to get, you know, mom comes home and she puts a car in the garage, then dad comes home and mom leaves early, so they have to move the cars around. But people know that when they buy there or rent there, so that, you know, they're doing it themselves. So other than, you know, really being tight on parking in the real world, and I'm sure you're meeting the minimum requirements, but in the real world, that would be tight parking to me. I think that it's great that you have some housing that's good for single people and people with 1 child. I know one of the issues we are dealing with in this town is we keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more out of the range of people who are needing smaller places. You know, I don't know that it's not classy. I kind of think it looks okay, but sometimes I don't fit in here. So I think it's great.
Question.
So the most appropriate thing for the town to do dealing with Pages Lane, if it turns out it doesn't get resolved, is to come up with a couple of thousand votes for eminent domain.
It's not going to happen. I don't believe it. All right, any more? Richard?
I just got one additional comment.
Give it up.
Mr. McKenzie made reference that it wasn't going to be the economic driver that he would have hoped. Well, Mr. McClellan's going to be paying taxes on the unit, on the complex, and hopefully we'll be able to collect on the passenger cars that are garaged there.
Well, you know, Mr. McClellan is currently paying taxes on an industrial site that doesn't have any kids going to school. So right now, the highest, best use for the property is, if you just want to look at taxes, what it is now.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times we look at beyond what the taxes are. Yes, it's relevant, but in this case, there are many other things that we have to consider, and one of them is when you drive down to the beach.
Exactly.
As much as I love Arrow paving, it does sometimes look a little, you know, like an industrial site. So this is an improvement to me.
It's a little like an industrial site.
A little, you know, there's piles of stuff, and that's fine. He's running a business. I run a business too, and my place doesn't look so great sometimes. So,
I think Tom has something he'd like to repeat.
he wants to call the question.
I thought I said call the question.
All right. So with that in mind, all those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Any opposed? Abstentions? Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate everything you did. All right. Here we go. There is no subdivision.
Nice meeting you. I'm glad you're well. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate your comment. I sit on the Board of Ed, and we're fighting the one child in the classroom with the teacher.
It's okay. It's good.
The day approaches. We're not having. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to open the hearing on the site plan revision. Leone Joe, Planet Aid for Maritime Grill, 2548 Boston Post Road, map 84, lot 14, zone TS2, site plan revision, clothing donation box. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
All right.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay. So what do we got from Mr. Leone?
Just to answer Walter's question, you know, you were questioning our charities. Yeah, the Better Business Bureau accredited us as a accredited charity.
That's for 84% of the charity.
Well, that's in our annual report. I mean, I don't know if you've seen our annual report online, you'll see that those are our numbers.
That's right. Those are the numbers. The number 8.
Where are you getting your numbers from?
80-something% does come up as charity. You had referred last time to 80-something% going towards education.
I said teacher training, education, food security programs, HIV/AIDS, a few, all toward that.
But what was not included was the word recycling. And a very large percentage of your funds seem to go to a recycling program.
It's recycling, the cost of doing recycling. It does cost money to go out and get, service these boxes.
The recycling percentage reduces that, not reduces, but it's a very significant portion of that 80-something percent that goes towards nonprofit purposes. And you had represented to us last time that 80-something percent was for educational purposes.
No. I said, I think if I misspoke, I apologize, but it's part of food security programs, teacher training, education, HIV/AIDS, and Ebola right now as well. I don't know how much you know about Planet 8, but it's a viable charity. Like I said, the Better Business Bureau recognizes us as a private charity. Okay. I have it here if you're on the website.
Oh, no, the Better Business Bureau accreditation was not a part of mine.
Okay, well, I'm just saying if you wanted to see it, I pulled it online, just so you know. We are a registered 501c3.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. In the United States, you've definitely met those requirements.
Okay. What other questions, discussions do you have?
Clarify, he's already been through design review on these two boxes.
I still stand by what I say. I think they look horrendous.
We have other boxes in town too, from other companies.
I know, and they look horrible too, but they're not before us right now. If they were before us, I would tell them that they look terrible too.
They're almost our boxes look nicer, actually. And just so you know, we do every 2 years, we update our boxes. I can tell you right now, the Bishop Orchard's place there, Kid Education box, and the Sarah box, they're all rusty and shiny.
I agree.
But we go out every couple of years and we update our boxes so they will look new.
That could work against you too. Some of that charitable work that you're paying for is going to those boxes, but whatever.
I just want to point out, where you see the container today at the Maritime, that is not going to be its final resting place because it doesn't meet the setback requirements. It will be toward the front of the building, in front of the what was that?
Well, not the building,
Patio
not the
area.
building, but the waterfall there by the grass,
waterfall,
the tree, there's a tree.
You have a waterfall?
Well, by the tree, in between.
Why don't we put it right on US Route 1 so everyone can see it when they come into Guilford?
Well, that's where it is now, and it doesn't meet the setback.
Let's paint it yellow, let's put big black letters on it, it'll be more, oh wait, no, that's what it is over. Sorry.
I just know, the one on the Maritime Grill does not accept payment, just so you know.
They don't.
Good for them.
Yeah.
All right.
That box is more profitable than the others.
It is a more profitable box.
For the charity.
For the charity.
For the children. Help the children. With the yellow boxes. So, Ray, what do you got?
Well, nothing. It's a site plan revision, so really, as long as it meets the zoning code, we have very little discretion on it. So, given that it meets all the requirements, Reg, I'm for it.
Can I jump in, George? Are there any reasons why, George Kraft, are there any reasons why we could refuse to have this based on their appearance? Is that something within the realm of what we can decide?
No.
So really, it doesn't matter. This is a foregone thing.
You can ask them to cooperate with the design review, which they have been doing, so.
And they were okay with the design. You don't like me, Rich, huh?
I love you. I do. I love anyone that can make a profit in Guilford, God bless you.
That's true.
It's true. If you can run a profitable business in this town, you're a magician. All right. George? Richard? Frank, anything? Walter? Done?
This is just.
There's more?
This is not in keeping with the look and feel we want it in a meaningful way.
No, of course not. Well, no, actually, you're wrong. It is, well, I don't want
It's in
to knock
keeping
any
with
other
certain
town.
parts of
So it's other towns.
certain unfortunate parts of Route 1.
Yeah. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None?
Abstentions.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, Leona Joe, Planet A from Deli Unlimited. The Deli Unlimited just put those new tanks in the ground.
Yep.
1099 Boston Post Road, map 46, lot 73, zone PB, site plan modification, clothing donation box. No one,
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
all right, discussion?
They're donating the money too?
5 cents a pound they get as savings. Well, if you want to give you the answer, I'm giving you the answer.
So Down Unlimited's taking the money. Okay, well, you know what, that's fine. Yeah, he's got to make it somewhere. He's not making it on the gas, he'll make it on the yellow box with the big box.
How does this meet the setback requirements for a PB zone?
Because I took my sliding rule out and sat down with Joe one afternoon.
Calculated very closely.
2 hours, and we looked at all the sites and moved the boxes.
And so this
It's actually not there right now, because we did renovations.
It's right out on the curb.
We're going to be returning, they did all the reservations there, we're going to be returning it there probably in a few weeks.
Tonight, he has a truck.
But there is a place.
On my way home.
So it has to be 20 feet from the street
From the side
line.
street, yeah.
20 feet from the street line.
And I think it's 12 foot from the sideline.
Right.
And it's not in the parking lot or next to the gas tanks.
No, on the grass.
No, not necessarily.
So you know where the side street is?
Yeah. North Fair Street.
Right. Behind the parking spaces there, far end, 20 feet from the road.
Nice.
Outside.
Okay.
That's what the picnic tables were, I used to eat my sandwich.
Yes.
I'll sit near your box then. Marvel at the beauty. All right.
Could you paint this one a different color? Just
to shut me up.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
like the grass.
Mauve.
Wow. All right. Any other?
I have a question. Is this good for only 1 year? Can I get that?
No, this is forever, eternity. End of time, there's going to be yellow boxes all over Guilford. Big black letters.
I promise to limit the...
No, I thought somewhere along the line was going to be okay for a year, then come back to review it. Was that for the design of the box, somewhere along the line?
Not sure.
No.
Well, it is a site plan review, and we do have less discretion. I mean, if it was a special permit, you could certainly tack conditions onto it more so than here. I think usually with a site plan, the review is limited to does it conform with the zoning code, and if it does, you pretty much have to grant it.
To Tom's point, the little store going up to the lake is very nice and country and wonderful, and this is a gas station, there's a slightly lesser appealing look to it, I think. Maybe it's just me, my outsider.
Probably.
All right, so is everyone cool?
We can put a time condition on this one, realistically.
Reggie doesn't look happy with that.
I'm not sure that was...
I mean, if it conforms to the zoning code, I don't see how you can attach conditions. I mean, it's a site plan, it's not a special permit, it's not a zone change.
I would agree with that, just like it would for anything else that would be in the commercial zone.
I mean, you'd have to change the zoning code to...
Outlaw the yellow boxes. No yellow
And it's not a special permit, it's as of...
Change it.
Basically, it's as of right, as long as it conforms to the setbacks and height and all the other good stuff in there.
It's okay. All right. We beat this to death. There's nothing left. It's a dead thing. All those in favor? Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain again.
Thank you, sir. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
all the...
Appreciate, and I'll do my best to keep them looking good.
Thank you, sir. A brighter yellow might be nice and darker black.
All right, thanks again, guys. I'm all set. I'm all set. Reggie, I'll talk to you.
Really, ultimately, setback, I mean, if there turns out to be some kind of encroachment, then it ends up being an enforcement issue.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cease and desist.
I was wondering why they were sitting here.
Well, what are they?
Are you guys up next?
I was just bored tonight.
You want to come to hang out with us?
Yeah, I'm working.
The highlight.
What's better to do? Hey.
So...
If I just got coffee there, do I have to recuse myself?
Oh, this
Yes, we saw him get
Mrs.
Do I have to... Or just talk away?
Is that it right there?
All right, so they're next up. Let's do them. I'm going to call it Paraco, is how you say it? Paraco Gas, BP Gas
Paraco.
Station? Paraco. 1046 Boston Post Road, map 46, lot 24, zone PB, site plan revision, placement of propane cylinder cage. Receive and take action. So where are you, gas woman, you? What do you got?
Exactly what it says. I want to place, well, I want to keep the propane cage I already have in place
Yep.
for the last 2 years. I want to keep that there. That's pretty much it.
Now, wasn't there, I know where it is too, wasn't there like, there was one of these rag boxes there too, wasn't there?
There was actually,
Is there a picture of it? Oh, look at this! Oh!
that's gone.
Oh my goodness, well, thank goodness. And now you have
Now that
the,
looks worse than the other one, let's face it.
I don't know, those Planet A ones are pretty
See, I
bad.
thought it looked pretty good because it started to go with the colors of FedEx.
That's true.
You know, it was color flow.
Yeah, it's the whole tone.
But we got rid of that. But this is the cage we want to keep.
Yep, I know.
Have we already heard from the fire department?
It's away from
Yes,
everything.
yes. They do this.
Fire department approved it. Do we have a letter from the fire department approving this that we want to read into the record? Ray's probably got it.
No, we don't have a letter from the fire department. We have a verbal from Assistant Chief.
Oh, we have a letter from the fire department.
The applicant came prepared tonight, she brought pencil.
That's their approval and inspection.
So we
That's
have,
the inspection, yeah.
we have Paulie Fazino, Paulie Boy says he's down with it. Yep, the requested re-inspections were performed and completed by the date recorded above. All conditions were found at the time of this application appear to be unchanged and continue to meet the requirements for approval by this office, as well as the requirements of the Connecticut State Fire Safety Code, its amendments, and all of the reference documents. And that is from Paulie, and it isn't really dated, but
We don't have a prepared motion for you, so you'll have to wing it. Josh.
All right.
Josh is great at winging motions.
Well, no, I'm weary to listen to
Let
them.
me give this back to Bill. Okay.
We can say, so move that the Parago Gas Co.,
BP Gas Station.
BP Gas Station at 1046 Boston Post Road, map 46, lot 24, zone PB, have their cylinder cage remain in place as it is today. Right? Is that what they're looking for?
Is that in the form of a
Jersey
motion?
barriers.
It was.
Did we get a second? Or we'll just
Right in
run?
front.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll wait for the second.
Second.
Okay, Walter.
The Jersey barriers that are right in front, there are two
Right,
currently.
right.
Yep.
And those were already approved,
The fire marshal.
those were already reviewed by the fire marshal, who's
He's down with
actually the assistant chief in this instance.
It's Paulie.
And, so there's nothing else being sold on that side of the building.
No,
And there is parking, but it's over on the other side by the air pump.
by the air pump, yes.
But someone could park in front of those two Jersey barriers. Occasionally people do, but it's not
They
really.
can park, but they're, yeah, but that's why the Jersey barriers are there, so they
But it's
can-
not really a space. Those people
No.
just do that.
That's
Yeah, they
probably where
just
the truck
pull in.
parks where they fill them up, maybe? The fuel
Yeah,
truck.
it is. That's pretty much what it is.
Or they'll pull up and then I'll carry them out, you know,
Right.
right to the vehicle.
But I don't have the same kind of concerns about this site that I had about the Big Y site that we dealt with in the past.
Yeah, because there's a lot less foot traffic.
And we didn't have fire people there.
And we didn't have, that's right. we didn't
wanted
have
fire marshal?
As much as there was a lot of heat to approve it instantly, there was no fire marshal approval. But in this instance, we have fire marshal approval, but also just in terms of the configuration, it's over around the side, and there's really no opportunity for a vehicle to particularly cause a problem. And there's also, it's not really the area where people smoke or any of the other structural standard concerns that we might have about how people use the site.
Right.
So I'm in favor of this.
Good foundation.
Wow. Well said. So we have a second. Is there any other discussion? Ray, come on, weigh in.
No comment.
You're not going to add?
I'm in favor.
All right, good. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed, abstentions? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right, what do we got next? Is that else? So we're going to receive? No, yeah.
Yes.
So we're receiving the special permit. Benton's Knoll LLC, 215 Colonial Road, Rutgers, 10 house, map 8, lot 24, zone R5, PRD special, planned residential development, special permit revision to allow 14 by 20 ground pool received and set public hearing date. 2/18 is good? So this is just one more of those pools that they're all eventually going to go to.
All in favor?
Thank you. You got the new chairman here.
You gotta move it, you gotta move it.
I'm sorry, I'm moving quick.
These are only receipts.
It's 20 after 11, everybody, we're still doing this. This was going to be a quick meeting, too. I thought 9 o'clock we're done. It's not going to happen. All right, so next one up is Coastal Management, 66 High Street, Gilbert LLC, 66 High Street and 47 High Street, map 30, lot 6040, zone L1 and R3. I1 and R3, industrial 1 and R3. 273-251 Coastal Area Management Site Plan, special permit for the redevelopment of existing factory to residential condominiums under the Town Center South Overlay Zone District regulations. Receive and set public hearing date of 2/18. Is this all good with everybody?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Site plan, Stephen Uxello, 25 Water Street, map 39, lot 85, zone 1, C1. Change use of the first floor space to add personal service establishment and gallery.
Personal service.
What does that mean?
Is that personnel?
That
Miss
applicant
Phil?
isn't here tonight, so
Blame him.
I make a suggestion that you table.
Yeah.
Move to table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other?
Brady, what kind of a personal service?
What zoning amendments?
So much different stuff than me.
Request for 90-day extension to file some sort of second request.
What do you got?
I don't know what that is. What is, are there any zoning amendments?
No, there's nothing to say.
Just
Okay, so before we do the bills, I got something to say. I don't like the discretion on it. I don't like it. Oh, wait, we have a request for a 90-day extension for, a request for a 90-day extension to file the Sunset subdivision, second request.
This is not a good thing.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have a couple of things. Oh, you want to do the bills first?
You got committees here.
Yeah, well, there's no committee reports, but I am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to schedule the zoning subcommittee meeting for February. For the purpose of reviewing the application process, partly as a result of my a past conversation with the planning committee chair. I think it's a reasonably technical and minor review, and I think that it would be appropriate for the zoning subcommittee to conduct it. I'm not exactly sure, I don't have a specific goal in mind, but it involves the forms that they fill out through the process.
That'll evolve, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good, so you're scheduling your meeting in?
February.
Okay.
What date?
And at 5 o'clock?
Regular
TBD,
date for February?
but our usual date is that Tuesday.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think
And
that,
this is for the zoning thing, right?
correct, zoning standing committee. And we'll work it out with Ray and Josh. I haven't mentioned it to Mark White yet. I figured out that I had one thing from Russ' campaign on my to-do list from about a month ago.
You really should do it.
Yeah. Laws from the 3rd to the 9th in LA, so I can't, for what it's worth.
Yeah, we can notice it for any time period for that.
Do you want to do, he's going to be gone from the 3rd to the 9th.
I'll be in LA, so I can't
And the usual one is what, like the 8th?
Yeah.
We can just do that.
Yeah, what's the next one?
Can we just move it to the next Tuesday, or does that get?
That would work for me.
if, works for everyone else.
So you want to move it to the 15th?
That's fine.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's a Monday, right? No, that's the 14th, isn't it?
Are you moving it to the 16th?
16th,
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
We don't work on the 16th. We have a holiday.
Oh, is that?
17th,
Monday.
because the 17th is the Tuesday, correct?
Oh, yes, the 17th is
What
the
holiday
Tuesday.
is February the 16th? Oh,
It's President's Day.
Yeah, President's Day.
I won't be here for that meeting.
Is it still possible for us to have it, or?
Yeah, George will be there. No, on the 17th.
17th works.
George is always right.
And what's the agenda item, Walter?
The agenda item is a review of the application process. The application process for zoning amendments, special permits, and site plan revisions.
Okay. You all set on that?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little too big. We'll look at that.
Okay, so at this time, I am going to ask to form the committee to search for the new executive team. It's about 6 to 8 weeks out, but I don't want to be rushed. So I'm going to name 3 people to it, and I'm hoping that they'll agree to do it. Frank, you're one of them. Frank, you're one of them.
You're one boy.
Phil Johnson, you're one of them.
Is it another date, another meeting time and whatnot?
You two can talk amongst yourselves. I would prefer not to set the process in stone. So it's going to be Frank, Phil, and Josh, if you would help too, I'd appreciate it. And, search and figure out who's going to be best next to lead this commission. So I'll leave that with you 3 guys.
He's going to be better.
Okay. Approval of bills, Shore Publishing, $31.21. $31.20.
You have to move to pay
I move
bills.
we paid it. I'll second it.
Call the question.
We spend those taxpayer dollars pretty freely, gentlemen.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes. I would like to put off the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. A couple of folks have said they haven't had an opportunity to review them. I haven't really read them myself. So if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to approve these 1/7/15 regular meeting minutes at the next meeting.
One small change in the minutes, that it be closed at 12:37 a.m.
Right, so there are some changes. And we're heading in that direction.
I'd like to move to table the 5 hours and 7 minutes of minutes until our next meeting, because I haven't reviewed them either.
Can I just make one comment, though?
Yeah.
Because I got them in the packet tonight, and I did look through it, and I think, just so everybody, so they can make this change, page 6 of 11, under number 4, amendment to 273-21 commercial design CD district to eliminate, approved by, it says discussion none, and then it says in favor, Mayor
It's me.
Meyer, Corbière, opposed, Cost, Wallace, and Underhill. And actually, it says Josh abstained. I don't think that's correct. You recused yourself.
Recused, that's
There's a
right.
difference, right?
That's right.
I didn't read
Right.
it.
So just there, you need to change that to recused himself.
Very helpful.
Yes.
You really are.
Tom, when you read that you had
I'm sure of that.
when you read that you had voted no, I was like, oh, he's obviously that can't be right, but it was right. It was right.
Yes, it was right.
All right, so
Betcha.
can I, we have no other business before us. Can I ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody.
An hour early.